Oh, yeah. It's me. It's me, Ben. I'm by myself. What's up, everybody? Joe is working a little late tonight, so I thought I'd start the show off with something a little new, okay? I've never done this before. I'm not a news guy. I know some people that do news, but I read some news, so this time I'm gonna say the news. And I came up with the thing, NTAHBNISI, news that already happened, but now I'm saying it. Okay, and the first thing that's on our list is DARPA-funded researchers accidentally discovered the world's first warp bubble. Everybody's talking about it. I mean, this already happened. Now I'm saying it. It's pretty cool. I mean, DARPA, as we all know, has been this kind of like crazy science fiction overlord of secret black ops technology and research. We don't really know what they do there. I mean, we know a little bit. We know how it's spelled, but all we've been seeing in like movies and TV shows or in the news is like this field of like antennas. That's all I remember of DARPA. Like, oh yeah, no, we have like 100 antennas and I don't know, someone with the weather. I work here. That's all I remember of DARPA. But I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. But there was another entity working with DARPA on this technology, and I'm not smart enough to know what happened, but it was discovered by accident. This diagram was put out like 2 years ago about this cool like space drive toilet thing. This little turbine engine thing, expanding space in the back, exotic matter ring in the middle, contracting space in the front, almost like a wave. Seems to make sense, right? Yeah. Looks pretty cool. But anyway, I guess that same concept was discovered by a group of scientists working with DARPA or at DARPA, their facilities, and they figured out a bubble. Dude, that's pretty cool. Okay, next on the list is Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville coming to a sea near you, dude. Party. Jimmy Buffett's hotel and restaurant chain Margaritaville is taking to the high seas, literally turning the whole experience into a cruise ship. This is on TMZ. I should mention the first article was on the Debrief. Shout out to the Debrief. It's an awesome article. So anyway, back to Jimmy Buffett. This is on TMZ, where the best news is Jimmy and team just announced the Margaritaville at Sea Paradise cruise ships is set to sail for the first time in April, taking off from Florida and circling down to the Bahamas. Damn, see all there. I mean, look at that room. Look at the maps. You can dream about the places you can go, but you know that you can only go to like 4 or 5 of them. Who knows if they're on the map that you're looking at? But that bed, comfy. That's a purple mattress probably, right? Not sponsored. And I hope each room has like a little cute saying at the top, like it says in this video. It says, "Nothing but a breeze, man." Love that. And I hope this is a window, not actually like a portrait. If you're watching on YouTube, it's like a circular window. It almost looks. I don't know. It'd be funny if it was like a painting, but I hope it's a window. For everybody gets a window on Jimmy Buffett's cruise. Okay, next in the news, Chinese rover spots weird large cube on the damn moon. Corinne Wetzel. This is on the SmithsonianMag.com. I think a lot of news outlets have been covering this stuff. It looks pretty interesting. I don't know what you guys think. I'm reading some of the comments in the chat. The object has been described as a cube, but I don't know if it's less than a cube and more of like a Gumby figure, or has anybody seen hey babe, what was that Matthew McConaughey movie Where they go back in time? Or he's like stuck in between. Interstellar, thank you, babe. Woo. Interstellar. We're like, there's like a robot, and he's like, and there's like 3 parts. That's what it looks like on the moon, just chilling. And he's like way in the distance, like, hey, not supposed to be here. So China found that Gumby Cube. Yes, Interstellar. Thank you, Zero Cool. And Josh. Oh, Josh Casey, what's up, dude? There's a lot of people in the chat. I gotta say what's up to everybody. I got one more news story, and we're gonna say what's up to the chat and bring in our guest Adam Ambrose, ladies and gentlemen. I guess that's the end. There's not much more. Like, we just don't know. We're waiting to hear. We're probably not gonna hear anything about that cube on the moon. The last piece of news from the Sun.com: Space Invaders. Oh, look, this is a title that deserves an award. Space Invaders. Aliens may have already visited Earth. Bombshell NASA report reveals as Pentagon ramps up hunt for UFOs. I don't know about hunt. But yeah, it was like a little paragraph at the end of a thing that came out. It doesn't necessarily mean that NASA is hunting for aliens. It's just, I think the exact quote was, all right, this is not an exact quote, but it was way less exciting. It said like, hey, yeah, we're not ruling it out. We're not ruling it out that alien visitors have visited Earth in the past. I can post links to the description after we record because I don't have that. I'm not very... This is the first time I'm doing this news thing, okay? News that already happened, but now I'm saying it. All right, just trying something new, people. Take my banners off and this badass background and say what's up to the chat, and then introduce our guest, Adam Ambrose. If you're just joining us, Joe is working a little late this evening, so it's just me right now, and we're just kind of waiting, just hanging out. Background, and that is not how you do that. But yeah, Joe is he's a hustler. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He's working on all kinds of things in the background. He is trying to lift things. Hopefully he doesn't throw his back out. He's helping Nico out, our director of our documentary, whatever. And, okay, figured it out. Boom. Let's say what's up to everybody in the chat. Spooky Morales, thank you for that super chat, bro. Thank you, dude. Yeah. All right. Getting it started. Felice and Navidad. Hell yeah. Dude, we got Santa, aliens, Christmas tree, trumpet. Yes. Zero Cool, what's up? Jamie Patton, Fat Bass, we got Fat Bass, we got Y in the building, Josh Casey, Anthony in the building, we got Michigan UFO sightings, Tammy Finnegan. I'm scrolling up, Luis Montez. Look at you guys. It's good to have the family in the house. And I really quick, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for the support and showing up to our this past weekend show with Terry Lovelace. It was the first time Joe and I did a live show. Like a live show. Like we were there live in person. Terry Lovelace drove down from Dallas. You know, we're in the Austin area. We had a live show in Taylor, Texas. Weren't sure how it was going to go. Nico, the director of our film that we've been working on, our good buddy, ran all the AV and did a fantastic job. But yeah, Joe is working late tonight. He'll be here in maybe, we're not sure. We'll see who's going to show up. But thank you guys so much for showing up this past weekend and showing your love and support. But yeah, so this week, guys and gals, we have a really awesome guest that I'm super excited about. The title is Biggest Alien Abduction Story Ever, or of all time. And we've been chatting for the past 2 weeks, maybe a little more, about his story. And oh my gosh, there's a reason why it's called the biggest, because there is a lot to it. There is so much to the story. That's about as much of introduction I want to give Adam Ambrose before I bring him on, because we like to let our guests introduce themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, Adam Ambrose, what's up, brother? How are you?
Hello. How are you doing this evening?
Good, man. Good to hear your voice. I'm glad we got the audio stuff figured out.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, man, this has been such a fun couple of weeks, just kind of getting to know you via email as much as we can, without chatting with you. But I mean, we chat about a couple things, and our one of the first things I really liked is that our shared love of Jack Black.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Jablin-
Yeah,
Jablinski.
yeah. Jablonski, it's got a YouTube channel now. I was surprised, but yeah, I follow him on YouTube. Pretty,
Yeah,
pretty interesting.
dude. When he posted that video about starting his own YouTube channel, it was like it got like what, like
Right.
2 million views just
Oh
in.
yeah, I know. It was like overnight, all of a sudden, nobody, and then just like 2 million views, and millions of followers, or however many it was in the first week. It
Yeah.
just took off immediately.
Well, people love
Obviously,
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has a huge following.
I feel like that dude has got to have some trippy experiences, not only with like maybe hallucinogens, but like life altering stuff. I mean, the guy talks about Bigfoot and aliens and all kinds of stuff, all the stuff we're all into. I don't know. What do you think?
Does he? I hadn't. Yeah, I guess he. I think I've seen him wear like a Bigfoot T-shirt. Like he's kind of. Is he into paranormal Bigfoot? Yeah, he definitely strikes me as someone who would, be open to that. Definitely.
Oh,
Yeah. So that would be cool. I mean, I've never heard. I don't know one way or the other if he's had any sort of experiences. I'd like to know. He should open up about it if he has.
right. I mean, if he has, and I'm just like guessing here, just based off of his music and his personality. I mean, the guy's been in so many movies. I don't know if you know how many movies this dude has been in, but it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's constantly working. Constantly. Dozens and dozens of big films too.
Yeah.
And even if they're small films, I mean, it's just fun. So,
Yeah,
I was a big fan of him.
Yeah. So like, as somebody as big name as Jack Black, I mean, I'm just speculating that he maybe has seen something in the sky that he can't explain. There's plenty of people that are in acting or music or musicians that have sightings. We talk about this a lot on the show. That there's something about the person that's connected with the arts in some way. That they're maybe, and we're still trying to figure this out. Like we don't know, but maybe they're more susceptible to this phenomenon, or maybe they can see it more clearly. Maybe it's that they have an open mind, and this thing is really all about the consciousness aspect. Or the fun, maybe more the fun way of looking at it is that that aliens are more interested in the people we find interesting, or the people that put out the most art and the most entertainment. Like maybe they just want to dap up Jack Black, like, well, that was a wrong hand move, but like fist bump Jack Black. Yeah,
definitely. That could be it. I think there is definitely a connection there, because a lot of abductees are creative, artistic types, and they may not do it for a profession. Not everyone's lucky enough to do that, for performing for a profession. I perform, I'm a trained actor. I've never done it professionally, but I've always wanted to. But I think there's a connection with creativity, and plus I have, I'm not diagnosed, but I have like traits of being on the autism spectrum, and I know that comes with a lot of creative mind, creative ability, like a creative awareness in general, thinking outside of the box. Definitely someone like Jack Black, like he reminds me of Robin Williams. The way they improv is just so spontaneous. He just lives in that. Like that's who he is, and so it wouldn't surprise me. No, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I love that. I love a lot about what you just said, because we talked about this a little bit with our guest last week on the spectrum of the types of brains, and we just putting labels on something black and white. It's a little, I think it's a little outdated. I think we can all at this point say that everybody's got a little something, and that's what makes us all interesting and fun.
True. Yeah, yeah.
But in your experience, Adam, have you always been in the arts, or when you first started having your experience? I mean, where do we want to start tonight? I know we kind of went back and forth, but I mean, there's a couple of ways we can kind of dive in because there's so much, dude.
Yeah,
And like,
I know.
I guess maybe is there a connection with the arts or music or anything that you've been into that kind of coincides with some of your experiences that you've had?
Well, yeah, it's in my life, I've always been creative. I've always been into the arts. I had piano lessons when I was 7 years old. Actually, it runs in my family. My mother was a piano player. She played classical and recitals. She wasn't like a virtuoso, but she could play classical. So we had a baby grand piano in the house. So I was playing piano since I was 7, and art classes, and I always excelled at that. Like my teachers always said, that you could be a professional artist if you want to, but it's like I couldn't decide what to do. I'd be a painter, and now I'm writing music. Like I wrote a lot of music in my teen years, so and I thought I might do that. But then I kind of settled into the idea of acting. Actually, that goes back to when I was 7. That I always just thought of myself as you know having the dream to perform, because when I was 7 years old, I saw this. It was a Disney animated film that they re-released. I think it was Song of the South. I just thought it was so magical the way they mixed live action with cartoons. And I didn't understand what a film was at that age. And I might have been like 5 or 6. And I was like, that's magic up there on this screen. And I want to be part of that. And I know that with these alien abduction experiences, like my brother has a memory of waiting at the window in his bedroom when he was a little kid. And he told me this as adult. He said, I would sit at the window every night because one night I saw Peter Pan come to the window, and we flew out the window, and I would always wait for Peter Pan to come back. And so the aliens do make you see whatever they want you to see. Peter Pan, Mickey Mouse, whatever calms you and makes you feel good. They might present that way to you. So if you're connected to that kind of idea, they definitely play into that. But it's also just a personality thing. Like they like people who are more receptive, gentle natured, artistic, because they're going to be more malleable and open to like this. When I was a little kid, they were just my friends. They weren't aliens. They would come to me as my friends, like almost like family members.
And how old were you when this was started happening?
Well, you know what? I've said this before. My earliest memory goes back to being in the crib, sleeping in my parents' room. I saw a purple ball of light hovering over the crib. That's my earliest memory. So whatever that was, 1 or 2 years old.
That
And
that's amazing that your memory could go that far back, dude. Not a lot of people can do that.
this this is something I've heard, and I've looked into that, and yeah, that's true. Some people do remember that far back, and some don't. I do. I don't remember everything every day of my life, though, but certain things stand out, and certainly these experiences had a lot of powerful emotion with it. So I remember it better, than just the everyday stuff.
Right. So I'm a new father myself, and
Oh,
my yeah. So she's 2 months old today. Actually, is her 2 month birthday. Yeah,
oh,
October
that's
9th.
great.
Yeah, and man, it's just been wild seeing her grow, and I've just been kind of looking back at myself through her lens in a way, and like
Yeah,
relating all these. There's a theory out there, and I'm sure there's a book published. And I'm sorry I don't know the person that has this theory, but a lot of abduction cases can, I guess, be interpreted as the subconscious or subliminal memories of childhood, and I can see how a lot of that stuff can get construed for some people. But in your case, I mean, it's a very specific chain of events, and the details that you remember are not just laying on the changing table looking up at a fan, right? Like you saw a glowing purple
mhm,
orb, and that was your first memory. But as you get older, What would be the next story leading up to? I mean, the one you mentioned earlier was the Peter Pan thing. You said you were 8. Was there anything that happened in between that you can remember vividly?
In between, oh yeah, a lot. In between seeing the purple ball of light. And what was the second thing you mentioned? That
Oh
was
yeah, you mentioned with your brother the Peter Pan coming to
oh,
his window, and
that was yeah, that was actually around the same time because I have 5 brothers and sisters. He was like 4 years older than me, so I would have been like 6. He was like 10 at that time, and so there was a lot going on actually. When I used to also initially see shadow people a lot, and I would see these forms that looked like a human form, but it was smoky, dark. I would approach my doorway and then approach my bed. It was pretty scary, and I'd hide under the covers, but then it would go away, like nothing would happen. I'd just see this shadow figure. But I
yeah,
did have other things too. A lot of times I'd wake up, even as a little kid, in the middle of the night, and I don't want to say it's a dream because it's not, but a lot of times abductees will use that word, but what they mean is, and what I mean is, it's an altered state of awareness, but you know it's not a dream because you feel like you're awake, but they've done something to your ability to process data. So you're taking in reality differently. Like you're lucid and aware, but they'll take away the fear, and you're just sort of going with it. It's almost like they co-opt your will somehow. You're just like, okay, okay, and so it's like I would see a ball of light in my room often as a little kid, hovering over my bed like a yellowish white ball of light. And I know that this ball of light would communicate with me, and I knew that inside that ball of light was somehow an alien or a gray being in what I came to later see grays in some sort of energy form in that ball of light. So I had a lot of visitations like that, and a lot of communication with my brothers and sisters. They started to indoctrinate me into this really weird thing of Bud Hopkins called it assisters. Like they trained me to assist in taking other people. So it started with like my brothers and sisters were little kids, and then I was helping like with the abductions of other school kids, in my local school, in my class. And then as I grew up as a teenager, it was like people around the neighborhood. It just kept going and going, and I got older. It was like co-workers, and like it just was crazy. Just like so many little abductions. And I wouldn't necessarily always remember being on a craft, but the coming and going, the returning. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I do have, you touched on it, yeah, I do have classic alien abduction memories of being like lying on a table and procedures being done. I do have that.
whoa. I mean, this show is all about being tangential, so don't worry about timeline.
Yeah,
But oh man, okay,
I mean,
you hit
yeah,
on so many things. I mean, this
I
is why we
did.
call it the biggest story
I
because
know.
it goes back so far. And man, okay,
It does.
what I'm so we. I want to touch on the shadow people because I have a theory and
Right.
I want to run it past you. So I want to hear what
Okay.
well how do you interpret the shadow people? Like what do you think of that?
Okay. Great. What I'm going to do is just give my opinion. It's speculation just based on my own discernment and my own experience. I think, okay, so I don't know. I don't have all the answers right, but I think the shadow people are a screen memory put there by the Greys because from what I've seen, the Greys, the worker bees, the little doctors, whatever you want to call them, like they may even be androids, but they don't always want to just walk in your room, right? Because you're going to be freaked out. They know they scare people, so they'll present as a deceased relative, a ghost, a shadow person, not just to hide their real identity, but also as a red herring to like confuse people so that they want that memory suppressed later, right? So they don't want you to remember aliens. They want you to remember, oh, I saw a shadow person, and so it's sort of like not a primrose path, but it's like a false lead. You know what I'm saying? They're sort of being deceptive by doing that. Now, that's my opinion. That's how I view it, and I know some people view it differently, but that's my take. Like a
Yeah.
screen memory type thing.
Yeah. So in the moment though, is it does we can go down a deep dark rabbit hole about this. Like, is the screen memory happening in real time? Are they influencing how you're seeing whatever this
Yeah.
energy is, like in real time,
Yeah.
or do we see something like a gray in the moment, and then later we remember it as a shadow person, and they kind of like do the blur over their face. Um,
Well, I see what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's hard to know. Like, how
Yeah.
do you even answer that, right? Like,
Well,
but
no, I don't.
I'm curious. So I guess my theory, Adam, is
Right.
that these shadow people, they often are seen either. So there's two places that are forms that I've only personally seen one that walked through me when I was in high school, but I've heard of a bunch of different accounts, and there's two relating factors. One is they're seen at a young age. We actually had what Joe's relative come up on stage last weekend and say that I didn't know this, but he's been seeing some shadow people. And I mean, like you said, we don't know what this is, but I think you can choose to see this thing as the shadow people as something really positive. And that's awesome. I would love for it to be a manifestation of love energy depicted from relatives that are still with us. Like that would be awesome, dude. That would be awesome.
Right.
But
Right.
and my theory isn't the opposite of that at all. It's simply that maybe this entity, whatever it is this energy that we are beginning to perceive. It's neither good nor bad. It just doesn't know how to communicate with us yet, and we don't know how to communicate with it. So we perceive it as this mist because we haven't put a label on it yet. Our brains, part of our
Right.
brains that make decisions, doesn't know how to look at it yet.
It's totally what you're saying. I mean, it could be multiple things going on because different people are having different experiences. Um, you know, it makes sense to me. When I talk about it, I'm just giving you my take, like my experience. Um, so, I filter everything through. Oh, I was on a craft, so I associate strongly with the grays. Like I tie everything back to it. I don't make that assumption. Like I could be wrong, but I'm just, you know, it's just like what I'm familiar with. But it's it's interesting though. You said two things. It is in real time to answer that question for me. I would see it in real time, and I really thought I was awake. I didn't think I was dreaming at all, and I would just stare into the darkness sometimes because I expected to see it, and then see it form. It was almost like the darkness formed into the shadow person, and
Right.
it was scary. But the other thing is, like you said, with ghosts, my my brother-in-law, he was driving down the highway one day, and all of a sudden his mother appeared sitting beside him in the car. And he wasn't afraid. It was peaceful and loving. And then he found out later that day that she died that day, and he didn't know it. And she appeared in his car. And so I've heard these stories in my own family, you
Yeah.
know. So, and I know that's common.
Wow. So that
Yeah.
the first thing that I mentioned was that I've seen and that we're talking about is it was at a young age, but what you're hitting on now, Adam, is that they also manifest and people have experiences with shadow people when they're going through some type of traumatic experience or high stress in their life. And
Right.
that's super interesting. I think there's a lot of correlations. My father-in-law is a practicing physician, and we had this conversation over Thanksgiving. And I mean, he's not really like
Oh,
he
yeah.
respects that I'm into it, and so I'm like, hey, you're a
Right.
doctor, answer these questions for me. he's so cool. But yeah, he brought up this stress index, and there's this.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a link to for it that he texted me, but there's all kinds of studies that with patients in hospice that are going through this high stress time in their life. They can pinpoint it to like, hey, yeah, that's when I got Alzheimer's. This is when I started getting sick, or this is when my spouse died. I started getting cancer. So all these leading up experiences causes the body to start to just break down. And who's to say if your body's breaking down, can your mind and your perception of reality start to break down as well?
Yeah, actually, my father is a retired physician, and I talked to him about a lot of my experiences. And it is interesting to talk to someone like that because we're very different, and he's very clinical minded and academic about the book. So there's a lot I could tell you about that, but I'm just, about what you said. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm kind of. Sometimes I get kind of tongue tied. Go ahead.
So you had some conversations, and the person you were talking to was open to it. I love that. I mean, just being open to talking about it is like a step. I think humanity would be a lot better off if we were all just like, hey, yeah, okay, let's just talk about this stuff. This is happening. This is weird. You may be a doctor. I might be just a musician or whatever. And we should still be able to talk about it and respect each other for it.
That's right. You don't have to commit, and just because I've concluded something, I'm not trying to necessarily impose my beliefs on the other person. But my father tended to always be so pragmatic, like in his thinking. See what was I going to say about that? I mean, it's kind of overwhelming. I think I start talking about my father at 8 years of therapy. I had a hard time talking to him about it because he had short patience for it. My mother's open-minded, other family members are open-minded toward it. But I think some people it's outside of their familiar experience. And so it's harder for them to open that door, I guess. It's scary too, it's just scary. It's scary to me, but I'm just so familiar with it. It's like I have a need to talk about. It's not like I have a strong interest driving me. I do have an interest in the subject, but it's moreover, I experienced it, so I'm living it. And it kind of hurts my feelings sometimes if a family member's like closed off, like, I don't want to hear that. Stop talking about that. And that's happened to me because they're almost like saying, I'm not interested in your life. Like that's what I hear.
Dude.
But
100%. It's not like you're choosing for this to happen to you. Like,
not at all. I didn't want it to happen to me. Yeah. That's a good point. There's something that just happens, and then you think, wait a minute. First you think you're a little kid, you think nobody else has experienced it, and then you find out a lot of people have. It's just quite, it smashes your paradigm apart, it expands your awareness, and go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I was thinking in the back of my mind, we're talking about acceptance and mm-hmm. your loved ones being able to openly talk about it, and it's definitely from a young age, like yourself, you've been kind of dealing with this stuff your whole life. I'm just curious, man. Like, are you willing to open up about some of the experiences that we can tangibly? I know we spoke over the email about tangible things that people can relate to, because we got a lot of listeners that are currently having experiences themselves, and it helps a lot to kind of hear others talk about their experiences as well. I mean, that's it can be scary, but it can be also like, it could be fun, and the fun part could be let's just chat about it, and we can find humor in it, and maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But like, I guess my question is like, is there anything about a visual or physical experience that you've had in your life that you're willing to talk about tonight?
Oh yeah, no, I'm willing to dive right in and talk about any and everything I've experienced. You're talking about in terms of having like physical trace things I noticed in the environment, things
Yeah,
like
like
that.
I'm curious as to like what species maybe you've encountered and maybe what they
Yeah,
look like and what details maybe that you remember.
yeah. I encountered primarily what people call grays, the small, thin beings with the large heads and dark eyes, who weren't really gray. They were sort of more. Their skin was more like it had a blue tint to it, sometimes a brown or yellowish tint. And I don't know if there's lighting on the craft that can affect the appearance of the skin, but it was primarily gray. I had one encounter where I saw a tall Nordic being, and one encounter where I saw a mantis being, which was more vague. I'm like 80-90% sure that it was a mantis being because it was just so aberrant. It was similar to a gray, but it was tall and had a long neck and a different shaped head. So it was sort of in the shadows when I saw it, but I'm pretty sure that was a mantis being. But those three types, and throughout my life, which is pretty consistent. I never saw like a reptilian creature. I did see when me and my little sister were little kids. We saw running through the house blue men. They were like made of light, but they looked like men, but they had no faces. They were all blue, and we chased them through the house. We both saw them. We weren't dreaming. We just called them the blue men or the blue people.
Wow.
That was weird because that was like an isolated event, and I don't know why. I just was like, I took it in stride. It was like exciting. We chased the blue men through the house. I must have been like 7 or 8 years old. I wasn't scared by it or anything.
Are,
I wasn't.
are there? Can I ask you really quick? Can you? My daughter's in the background
Yeah,
crying. Can you hear her crying at
I
all?
can.
You can't. Okay. My wife is with her. I feel bad. Like maybe I should go check on her
Sure,
real quick. And I don't. My
no
co-host isn't
problem.
here, so do you
Yeah,
mind
no,
hanging out 1 second? I just want to make sure everything's okay. Do you mind hanging out
yeah,
for just 1 sec?
that's cool.
Okay. Thanks, brother. Okay, baby's fine. Wife is fine. Everything's good. Sorry about
Okay.
that, y'all.
Can I go back a few steps about something you said earlier?
Yeah, let's do it, dude.
Because I kind of wanted to respond to it when you said how if someone's going through something emotional, something difficult,
Mhm.
that can tie into the encounters they might have an experience, and there'll be some relevancy there going on with what's going on in their life. Um, there were times when I had experiences like that. I wouldn't necessarily always have related to it that way myself, although I do relate to um, having a close relationship with the Grays when I was younger, them having conversations with me on craft where they were aware that I was a sad boy, that I was lonely, I didn't have a lot of friends, and um, things would come up and they would say like, "Why are you so sad?" I remember one time they were in my room and it was almost like an ET. I said, "Can you take me with you?" And this tall gray had a shorter gray with him who I knew with my age it was a child grave, which I had never seen before. And he said, you can't come with us because you have a family here that loves you and they miss you. And that made me feel sad because I loved my family, but I was torn. I also loved the Grays. I thought of them as my family too at that point. And I feel that was an emotional manipulation as an adult looking back on it. But I always had that kind of connection, like an awareness that they knew what was going on in my life, and they even healed me. You can talk about that later, but that I had an event as a 7-year-old where they said I was going to die of a muscular disease, and they healed me. And then after that, they imparted all this knowledge on me. They said, we're going to be with you your whole life. Anytime you need to talk to us, all you have to do is think about us, and we're right there. We can hear you. So I had that kind of close relationship, as bizarre as that sounds. And even going back to my grandmother, when she was pregnant with my mother, this goes back to the early part of last century, she woke up in the middle of the night, and I asked her about it. I said, were you dreaming? And she said, no. She said she saw her mother, this is my grandmother, saw her mother, who would be my great-grandmother, come to her in the middle of the night and put her hand on her stomach. And she said the baby will be okay. And that baby was my mother she was pregnant with. And so I feel if that, now I don't know what that was, if that was an angel or if that was really her mother, if it was tied to this alien abduction experience, they were, they were watching that birth. Like they said, it goes back in families. So again, this close relationship, which it speaks to what you said, about this being almost spiritual in some ways.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I kind of want to step back for a second when we were talking about your first interaction with the gray or slightly like beige or blue. And I love that detail that you threw in, like maybe it could have been the lights on the ship. And that got me thinking, okay, so you were on a ship. Not a lot of people remember ships. They just remember, boom, they're in their bed, boom, they're on a table, or there's just missing time and they don't remember where they went, but they're like back in their bed and maybe clothes are messed up. My question is to you is, do you remember any details about the ship that you were on?
Oh yeah, I remember quite a bit. I remember a great number of different encounters of being on the ship. It's going to sound unbelievable, but I'll reference David Jacobs, who will back me up on this. When you're a lifelong abductee, it's not uncommon to have hundreds of encounters over decades. So the difference with me is most people don't remember as much. I'm what's called an extraordinary abductee. It's a term. It just means I have a good memory, and I don't know why. That I have extraordinary recall, and it's all without hypnosis. And I have had hypnosis, which has helped to clarify some of the details. But that is partly just because I have a good memory, but I kind of also think they wanted me to remember because they have the ability to not let you remember. And like you touched on, it seems like a lot of people don't remember being on the craft. Most don't remember much of that, but most of my experiences I don't. It's just that I've had so many that even if you sift out the ones where I do, it's a high number. But obviously, I'm just sort of, you want to know about like a specific.
I mean, the fact that you remember anything from being an infant in your crib is amazing. And,
yeah, it is pretty freaky, isn't it?
Well, the fact that you can hold all of this all of this memory in your mind and still have a regular conversation as you are right now is astonishing, dude. Like the amount, I'm just thinking about all the stuff you know about, like your memory, like your RAM storage like on a computer is probably like a 32 gigabyte, where mine is like a 2 megabyte. Like I have the memory of a snail, I swear.
Well, I don't know. They tested me in grade school, and they said that my memory was in the top 10. and I'm sure it's higher than that because my father's a physician, and so I do have a good memory. I wouldn't say it's photographic, but with these encounters, it's very emotional. So it's like when I talk about it, I can go back in there. It's almost like self hypnosis, like I'm reliving it. Like I wish I could take you with me in a time machine and you could see what I'm seeing in my mind because you'd be blown away. Like
That would
I
be cool.
remember shirts people wore. Like I remember such detail. Like I remember being 10 years old and having a conversation with someone, and I remember what shirt they wore. You know what I mean? Like yeah, like it's like a video playing in my mind. I can see it.
Okay,
So
I have some. I You just like sparked some ideas in my head, dude. I didn't mean to cut you off. If there's anything you
no,
wanted to
you
say
didn't.
at the
No,
okay,
you didn't cut me off.
okay. So, dude, do you think that maybe you're an alien hybrid, or they chose you because you had this ability, or they gave you some gifts? There's like, are do you fall? Have you thought about that? Like, do you fall in line with any of those?
Well, I have thought about it, and I don't know about the alien hybrid thing. I mean, I think that I do believe that
We're
we
all
all have.
alien hybrids,
Yeah,
right? Like,
we do have some. The what do they call it, the unknown DNA or the unidentified DNA. There was a mix at some point. I mean, but I think it's what you said about how did you put it? That I know that they see me as um, I guess I was the chosen one within my family that it runs in my family, and I was I don't know what you could say the most on the autism spectrum, the most gentle natured or whatever. But like Bud Hopkins told me that he said when we met and he interviewed me, and he said a lot of abductees he's met were artistic and gentle natured, and he believes that they exploit that because we're more receptive. We go into the experience easier to calm. So, it's like, and I'm not like a gullible person. I'm not like, I'm not going to go off and join a cult or anything. But like, I know I'm not exactly answering a question. I don't view myself as different. Like, I view myself as a normal human being, but I have an extraordinary relationship with something otherworldly, which I always felt I did, even though when I was a kid, my memory, my awareness was a more periodic awareness where I'd have an event and it would fade. I'd have a next event and it would fade. So I wouldn't remember 10 events in a row. I'd only remember the last one or two. It faded. And all of it came back to me later in my 30s, like later. But I did, as a little kid, have a feeling that even in those periods of amnesia I'd go through, I always felt like Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. Like when that movie came out, I was 14, and that blew me away because like he would dream of going, he'd look at the binary sunset, and dream of going off and having adventures. And I always felt I couldn't explain the thing on it, but I always felt like I was somehow in touch with something else from somewhere else, like a spiritual connection to something larger. And that was always innate in me, and I couldn't really define it.
right. Yeah. So how do you come out of that realization, not thinking like you are the chosen one? Like you gotta kind of check your ego with that, right? Like on the
Well,
other end.
there's a lot of me though. Like there's a lot of me. Like it's like there's a lot. They tell that to a lot of people. I just said use the word chosen. As far as like there's not necessarily anything special about me if you compare me to the masses, but within my family unit, I was the one that they really wanted to be part of the program the most. And although, and I'm kind of weird. Like I have, like I am very spiritual, not religious, but necessarily but spiritual. I was raised Catholic. I was an altar boy, and actually had abductions out of churches while I was serving mass. A nun was taken, and so I always had that kind of, you know, like I wouldn't call it like what do they call it, like a messiah complex, but I was sometimes I would wonder like, could I have been Jesus in a past life? And I go, that's crazy. Like I don't believe that, but I always had that thought. And I
Well,
never said that before, but I wanted to bring it up because it's kind of an interesting thing.
I respect you for bringing that up because like most people would be kind of like, oh, not gonna say that, but like,
Yeah. No, I
but
get it.
you gotta know that other people in your shoes would feel that way, and they wouldn't end up on the side that you are of humbleness, right? Like, I mean, you're a pretty normal dude. You didn't turn out so bad, man. I know that had it been the wrong
Right.
person with the wrong upbringing, nature versus nurture, I guess. But um, I don't know. Joel Olstein for me kind of rings a bell, but like just
Yeah.
being humble, like, hey, yeah, no, I'm no more special than the other person, but also all this crazy stuff has happened to me, and I mean, what do you? Yeah, so I love. It seems
Yeah.
like it sounds to me like you're not focusing on that. You're more focusing on like the end. I guess what are you? What's the thing that at the end of the day you that brings you joy or positivity with your experiences? Like, have you been
Well,
given any messages, or have you come to terms with anything that makes you feel like, hey, you know what, all that was worth it? Like, this is what we do now.
well, even just before I answer that, I'll just say I like my thing is to be honest. And like so, some people think I'm egotistical. Like if I'll say something like, "Oh, I don't know," like if people go, "Oh, I think I was this or that in another life." I don't think that. Like I don't have a particular belief in that stuff. I just said that because it relates to what we were talking about, and it's like it's part of the experience. It's like what I feel, how I identify as a human being, my experience. I think they exploit that, and yeah, yeah. As far as like messages, I never got like it reminds me of like that schoolyard landing in Ariel. They got messages about the environment, saving the world.
Yeah.
I never got specific messages, although I was on a craft once. I was like 12 years old, and they showed me a screen, almost like our modern flat screens. But I don't remember if I was looking down on it. I may have been looking down on it, or it wasn't necessarily sitting upright like a TV, but they showed me an explosion on Earth that kind of looked like an asteroid hitting Earth. And I don't want to scare anybody because I have no idea what that was. But they would just show me that, and then I was like, "What does that mean? Like, what am I supposed to do with that?" Maybe they said more about it, but I don't remember. See, that's the
You're like,
thing.
what am I? You're like, what
So
am I supposed to do, dude?
what? Yeah, like I don't work at NASA, and even if I did, we would need like anti-gravity technology to avert asteroids. Like they're working on that,
Yeah.
but it's like maybe they did in part stuff on me. But if they did, that's the one thing I don't have great clarity of recollection for. It's like a message, although I would say they affected me because I came away with like I'll have prescient dreams. Like I have a dream of the future, and then it'll happen. Little things like I'll just give you an example. There was a friend of mine in high school, and I had this alien abduction, and this boy was abducted. He was a few years younger than me, and he was like 13. I was like maybe 16 or 17. He was a friend of my younger sisters, but we hung out. Like he'd come over to the house, and they they didn't say specifically that this boy was going to die, but they said somebody that is a friend of your friend is going to die. And I told my friend that. I said, somebody you know is going to die within a week. I scared the crap out of him.
Damn.
And then this boy, who I just told you who was taken
Yeah.
a week earlier, died in a car accident. And like I knew that was going to happen. And then we talked about it afterwards. And he was so like freaked out by like that he wasn't going to want to talk to me after that. He was like scared, like what's
What do
going
you
on?
what do you do in those scenarios when, because I know a lot of people that experience precognition like that, and maybe it coincides with contact. Maybe sometimes it doesn't. But what do you do with that information? Like, do you tell that person and now they're like, think you're crazy? Or after the fact, you're like, oh no, I
Mm-hmm.
totally knew that was going to happen. Either way, it's a lose lose. Like, what? So, again, what you said, Adam, earlier, like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah,
Um,
it was tough because they just dropped it on me,
it,
and it was. I went to the funeral. It was heartbreaking. I actually
yeah.
met the boy. He
Mm.
was only 2 years younger than me, and I met him at the tennis club. My friend was my friend's friend, and he introduced me to him like 3 or 4 weeks before he died, and it was like I thought, geez, if I had known specifically who it was that was going to die, I could have maybe warned the parents. I could have said, don't go on that car trip. They went on a weekend excursion in a Jeep and it didn't have a top and it flipped and like 4 people died. And like, I didn't
Damn.
specifically know it was going to be that person. I just knew it was, I knew it was going to be someone he knew. And then afterwards, it matched up because, like I said, a week earlier, I knew that boy was taken because I had assisted in that. We were at his house. He was taken, and I have a memory. Like I know who was taken. I could look at a map and pick out dozens and dozens of houses in different places I lived and go, someone was taken from there, someone was taken from there. I mean, that sounds weird, but that's my experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was tough because that devastated me. I was like, why are you involving me in this? Why would you tell me that? Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to know that. Like, if you're telling me that, maybe to change it, but how could I change it if I didn't know specifically who it was going to affect? Like,
Right.
I didn't want to be part of that, but it was almost like they were just, almost like for my benefit. Like, it seems like a lot of what the visitors do is for not for our benefit, but for their benefit. And they involve us, and I'm involved, and they let me see their technology, and they let me communicate with me, and they let me see what they're capable of. And because I'm involved, and I guess it's just my close proximity to it, is that I can hear their thoughts,
Hmm.
and I see a bunch of stuff they didn't want me to see, and
You got the cheat codes, dude.
yeah, it's like that. But I know I,
On
I
accident. I was just making a joke.
yeah. No, I was thinking I didn't actually answer your question before, uh, and
If we're too far gone, it's fine. I've got like a
it's
thousand more.
it's because you know what it is. I get overwhelmed and I have 1,000 things I want to say, and I go, "Oh, I didn't answer your question." But I just wanted to touch real quick on that. You said like, "What's your takeaway?" Like, what's your take on the whole thing? Like,
Yeah. Oh.
because that's a key thing, and I didn't really answer it. I don't think I did, but
Yeah. Please. Yeah. What is your like main at this point in your life? I mean, it's probably changed, but like as of right now, what's your perspective like takeaway?
yeah, exactly. It evolved. It was a complete mystery, and then I went through an anger stage. Right, I was real angry. I was like, what are you doing? You know, and it's like, and then I was like, I went through a stage where it was beautiful and wonderful, and it's like, this is a blessing, and it's great to know that we're not alone in the universe. I just feel, well, currently, I feel actually frustrated by it. I don't like having had the experience. I would give it back like what was his name in the Matrix? He wanted to just go back and not remember anything because I wonder what my life would have been like if I didn't have this awareness. Because this held me back. It might have given me PTSD, and this is scary. It's not. It's not something that I feel is a blessing.
Yeah.
It can have that. An awareness can expand your awarenesses, but it's I feel an exploitation of humanity. I think it's an advanced intelligence is exploiting us. I think they're mining the planet for genetic material, plant plant material, all kinds of material. I don't know what they're doing with it, but it's not about us. It's about them. And they even told me that it's not like if I'm focused too much on myself, they bring it back on themselves and go, "Well, we don't care about that. It's not about what you want. It's about what we want." You know, and it's annoying. Frankly, it's like a love hate relationship because, like you said, like I'm gentle natured, right? I'm open to people, and so I don't hate, and I don't even hate these dudes. But man, I feel like I was used.
So Cipher is the name of the character you're speaking of in the
I knew,
movie
yeah,
Matrix, and
Cypher.
He's got a dope lip blade, as Dave Scott would say. A little flavor saver, a little jazz button as well. Great actor, but yeah, that archetype of, hey, I've been told the truth by the opposition, by the enemy, quote unquote enemy, and they gave him an out, like, hey, sell out your boys, and we'll let you live in this kingdom of what they promise him is, man. There's so many tie-ins, dude. It's crazy. Like, there's so many tie-ins that they promise him heaven on earth, but it's really not earth. He knows that, but he's like, don't let me. That's why he repeats this over and over. I don't want to remember shit. Like, even that I know that this isn't real. Like, he doesn't want to even remember that. So that is that's the character. So that's kind of that archetype that you went through, which I love that. I've never heard anybody say that before. That is super interesting, my friend.
Well, that movie just blew me away, because especially there's different scenes in that, like when he goes in there and there's this young person, like on the floor, like this holy person, and they're like saying, "Don't try to bend the spoon. That's impossible." What does he say? He says,
"That's impossible."
Yeah, that's impossible to spend. Realize
that there is no spoon.
Yeah, there's no spoon, and it's not the spoon that bends; it's you. So
nice.
There was that moment, and there's a lot of good little moments in that movie where you go, it's like you think this is your whole world, right? And then a curtain's raised to go, oh, the world's much larger and different than I thought it was. And you have insight into that, and not everybody has that same insight, because we don't all know the same things. We don't all have the same experiences. And it's like the Matrix is telling me the steak is juicy and delicious, and I finally realized that ignorance is bliss. Put me back. I don't want to remember. And I almost cried when I saw it scene, because it was like, getting older, and I just wish that I could have a normal life, and not. It always kills me when people say, "I wish I could be abducted," and I'm like, "Don't wish for this."
Yeah. Wow.
It's not. No, it's not what you think it is.
So when you see like shows like ours, where like, I mean, we're not okay. We're having fun with the topic. Like I told you backstage and through email, like Joe and I, we've seen some stuff, man. We had some experience. We don't think we've been abducted. We don't know for sure. So we take it very seriously. Like we have a good time. We laugh about farts and stuff. Like, yeah. But there is just this underlining darkness that clouds this subject. And it can get really, really deep. And that's why we kind of want to keep things light. And it's almost like opening up a novel to like the worst page. Like, oh, this book is about what, like a dog like builds a rocket ship, and he fucking, I don't know, and the rocket ship also created peanut butter, and like this is like an alternate timeline. The book doesn't make any sense. That's kind of, I mean, our show's weird, but our approach to this whole thing is like, and it took you a little bit to kind of understand our format too, which was interesting to get that feedback from you.
It did. When I first saw it, I was like, you reminded me of Cheech and Chong, and like I love Cheech and Chong, like E.T. the extra testicles and all that. It was great, but it's like, I wasn't sure how serious you guys were. But then I went and I listened to a lot of the interviews, and you guys are like really intelligent and making insightful comments, and you've had your own experiences, and you really respect experiencers or abductees, and so I realized that sometimes the way someone presents, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover and go, well, you might have a silly sense of humor. So do I. I'm like a child in my mind, practically. Like, I'm not a mature person. Not that you're immature, but I mean, you have a
I'm
sense
definitely
of humor.
immature.
That's fine to have a sense of humor and to have a youthful spirit. I do too. It's because you're not ridiculing it. You're not going, well, you must be stupid, because I have people like that. They'll be like, well, you're not using critical thinking, therefore you can't, rather than try to come up with an explanation for the actual data, what we're reporting, they falsify what we're reporting and they're only explaining their falsified version of it. They're not explaining or making an attempt to really delve into what we're actually saying.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I love that. As you were saying, you said I don't think you're immature, and I said, oh, absolutely, I am immature, and I realized that I like rubbed my mustache and was like literally smelling my fingers. I'm literally like stuck
Yeah.
in my early 20s, but the subject has been a part of my life for a really long time, and yeah, although our humor on the show is sometimes a little childish, like. What's more funny than farts, dude? Like, come on, farts are funny.
Yeah,
But
no,
we
yeah,
could still talk about serious stuff too.
right. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate that sentiment, and I didn't mean that for that little thing to be all about us. I mean that that perspective, though, I really appreciate, man, that feedback. But the way that I kind of want to bring this back in when we get back, I kind of want to take a 5-minute break. If you're down, I've got to hit the bathroom, and I know maybe you have to too. If you want to grab a beer or refill your drink, people in the chat, if you're watching us live, time to party, boys and girls. It's time to party. Still waiting on Joe. He's working late. If you guys are just joining us, Joe did not get replaced by Cinnamon Terry. No. So yeah, where do we want to pick up when we get back, Adam? Is there anything we want to bring up? Because we've got a bit of time left, dude. So the floor's open, man.
Yeah, you said you have 1,000 questions. We should get back to some point where we started to talk about maybe what the interiors of some of the craft looked like. We didn't really get into that too much. I was going to, and
100%.
And it's just the can of worms, though, like you said. It's like there's both aspects of it, but your style, I just love. It's okay. It's cool, you know. It would be different if you guys were ridiculing, but you're not. So, but it's like you said, yeah. You delve into something deeper, can of worms, you know. And so that's why Lou Elizondo has to be so careful about what he says, because it can be scary. You know, you want to have the conversation. You don't want to shut the conversation down.
Yes.
So I understand that.
I love that you brought that up, dude, because we've got so much I want to pick your brain about, because the Lou Elizondo thing and the reason why he didn't just shut down the convo and he kept it rolling. And I mean, I'm picking up what you're throwing down, but the things that he did not answer.
Yeah. Are
you sure he didn't answer them?
Well,
maybe go back and listen to those interviews.
No, it's interesting. If you look between the lines, he signed an NDA, and he has to be careful about what he says. But he's clever. I don't have to be so careful about what I say because I didn't sign an NDA. So that's the good thing about my position is that it's like I can just go nuts and say whatever I want, you know.
Yeah,
but that's the beauty of it, and that's why I should. That's why I'm talking about this, because I know certain other people aren't going to.
Well, when we get back, dude, I want to take a 5-minute break, man. I am so enjoying our chat, and it is so great to talk to you. I mean, we'll get into a little bit about what happened, what the interior of UFO crafts look like. I mean, man, it just again, thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean, you've been on some of the greats. You've chatted with Art Bell. Like, it's just awesome to have you here tonight and hear a little bit more about your story. And yeah, when we get back, we'll talk. We're going to talk about the inside of UFO crafts.
No, I appreciate being here. I haven't done an interview in almost 3 years, so you know I'm back.
You're back, baby. Let's do this. All right, man. Well, I'll take you out and put you in the green room. I'm gonna put up a little video in 5 minutes. So I'll be right back, brother.
Okay, then.
You'll hear that sweet crickle crackle. That warm wood warming up your bones and sends chills up my spine every time. That's what a fire does for me, and for you if you want. It could be spooky. What I remember about my first TV fire is the first episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? We need some sand. You know, throw some sand on the fire, and it would make a cool color. All right, monologue over. We're coming back, ladies and gentlemen, with Adam Ambrose tonight. The biggest alien abduction story ever. I think so. The story spans so many years from birth. I mean, the guy has the memory of I don't know. There's probably a name for it, but he remembers memories from being in the crib, seeing a bright purple orb above his bed as a baby, and then as a 6-year-old, chatting with his brother about Peter Pan showing up in the window and taking him to another place. Man, his stories are awesome so far. We're getting into it. We're coming back. We left off on Adam's explanation of the inside of a UFO, an alien UFO craft, and I'm so excited to have Adam Ambrose back in. And Mr. Callie, no, are my eyes glassy? I don't know. Well, welcome back, Adam Ambrose, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, dude?
I'm back.
You're back. I should have probably checked to see if you were back. That could have gone very bad.
Yeah, I was going to give the cat water, but he's fine. He's got water in his bowl. I better come back. I got up, I came back.
Well, you said you had to get your cat some water?
Now, he does have water, but he likes to drink from the faucet. So sometimes I'll run that, but I really didn't want it running in the background because it distracts me. So he does have water in his bowl, but
have you seen those videos of like cats that like paw the? Does your cat do that? Where like paws it and kind of gets the water in his mouth that way?
You know, I did. I have a couple cats, and I have one that did that. Yeah, it's they'll wet their paw and then lift it off. It's almost cut their paw like it's a hand to try to get. Yeah, it's funny. They all have a different way of drinking from the faucet, from the water. I had a blonde cat who actually passed away last summer, Thomas, and he was 11 years old, and he would take one piece of food at a time, drop it on the table, and eat it off the table. Go back to the bowl, and another piece, drop it on the table. Like I guess he felt territorial of his food. He wanted to make sure no one else could get at it.
There's something about watching cats mess with like people food that's hilarious. Like if you get like, you ever seen like a kitten? Like I saw this video of a kitten. Like somebody gave a kitten a steak, like a full steak. It's just like it's
wow.
They're like tiny tigers, man. They're tiny, cute tigers. They're cute.
They really are.
They're ferocious.
They're meat eaters, and they'll go after little bugs or whatever. And just yeah.
Oh yeah.
But they're domesticated, but they still have the instinct to hunt and eat meat. And I love that about that, because when I was a kid, I saw Born Free in school. They showed us that movie, and then when I went home, I just saw my cats totally differently. To me, they were just miniature, like tigers or whatever those were in that movie. They had like a lot of cubs in that.
Well, I just hope that Tiger King. I don't know who the Tiger King is anymore, but I don't know, man. The Tiger King. Have you seen that stuff? I mean, they're all kind of guilty of a lot of shit, right? Like no one's innocent in that whole story, right?
Now, I'm not familiar with that title. What is it?
Oh, you don't know about Tiger King? Oh my gosh! All right, well, I'll send you a link, dude. It's amazing.
Okay.
We were talking about cats, and my brain went to steak and like big cats and all that. Anyway, I wanted to say thank you to Simon Wales for starting up. I don't know if you know about this, Adam, but we have this thing where, for like, if you to be you could sign up to be as a donation base on our YouTube channel. There's a couple different levels, and one's called a Space Fart Officer, and it's one of our most prestigious awards. The first one is Dr. Scientist, I believe. Space Fart Officer is one of our most prestigious, and I congratulate you, sir, Simon Wales, and welcome aboard. And your uniform will arrive in the mail shortly. I will be contacting you with many forms of large handwritten mail in scroll form. Just expect tubes on your doorstep. Many tubes. They're about 5 feet. You're not going to miss them. 5 feet tall tubes, handwritten scrolls. You must read them aloud to your neighbors as a welcome to being a Space Fart Officer. And thank you for supporting the show, the UFO Garage podcast. And I just want to say again, Joe's not right here, right now with us tonight. Joe, my better half, other than my wife, love you, babe, is working late tonight. So he's still alive. I did call him. He did not answer. So he might, well, let's just pray that he's alive. Haven't heard from him, but he is working late tonight. So everybody send love to Joe. And let's get back to the show. Adam, dude, we left off at a point where, man, I'm so curious about this. We talked to a lot of people with experiences, but with the memory abilities that you have, I'm curious to kind of spitball, and I kind of just want you to take the floor, my friend. Describe the first craft. Have there been many, or maybe we start with one?
Oh, there's been many. I was thinking of what you're saying. Just got the first one, like my earliest memory.
Hey, and if you can, Adam, before you start, I know you have a microphone. Is there any way you can get that microphone right in front of your mouth? Your mouth, right there. I just kind of want to see what happens. It's a little muffly.
Is this better? Usually they tell me to move it away. That's why I kind of was having it away.
Oh yeah. I don't know if it's. I think it's kind of the same.
Wait, let me take the headphone off a second.
Okay.
So I just had to bend this wire. Sorry. I mean, is this better? Is this better?
Actually, yeah, it does sound better. I just pictured you like clipping the red wire, like a ball. I don't know.
No, it's just, the mic being on this wire, I had sort of bent away because when Art Bell interviewed me, he was like, now, gave me instructions. He said, put the mic between your upper lip and your nose. Like, he was like telling me right where to put it. I'm not even sure if that's like the right place, but not too close, so it was like hard to get it. And then people go, it's too close. It's too far away.
Can we try that? That sounds genius.
Yeah, like he said, don't have it right in front of your mouth. So I guess he said maybe it was like between your chin and your lower lip.
Well, wherever you had it when you just talked, it sounded great.
Yeah, I just moved it closer to my mouth. That's what I did. How's this?
Sound. I think it sounds better.
Because I didn't want to get the foot sounds, like the interference. So if this is good, I'll keep it here. Maybe I'm talking quiet too because it's getting late and I have neighbors upstairs. But
man, them neighbors, screw them neighbors, dude. I'll go I'll go knock on the door, dude. I'll tell them what's up.
They can't hear me anyway, probably. Because I can't hear it. I don't know if I should even bring that up.
Little do they know we're changing the world downstairs, dude. You got to let them know.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. But let's see. You're asking me about. Oh, you wanted me to sort of offer up my earliest memory of a craft.
Yeah, I want to know some like details, some visual I don't know why I have trouble with that word, visual memories, or maybe like
Mhm.
feelings of like materials. Like, what did you see in the craft?
Okay, well, there are different size craft. When they would take me from my house, they would land in my yard a lot. And a lot of times they'd be small, like pop tents, and sometimes they'd be flat that almost look like Lamborghinis, like they were low, like saucer shaped, but only maybe like 8 feet wide, like real small sometimes. And then a lot of times you see like these pop tent type craft. And I saw my earliest memory of a craft is about 5 or 6 years old, and I went out in the middle of the night, and there was a craft in the backyard and landed. And so they didn't go in and take me out of my room. You know, they had me telepathically know they were there, so I went out and met them in the backyard. And I went into this small pop tent size craft, and they actually had it put an implant into my nasal cavity because the gray had a tool. And I remember what it looked like. I think it was like copper colored. What's that other stuff, like brass colored, that
Mm-hmm.
in that area, and it was had a metal. It was metallic looking. It had a handle, and then at the top it was kind of circular and it had like some kind of spokes or prongs coming out and a little gripper part. It looked pretty serious, almost like a dental instrument, like it was going to be painful. And
Yeah.
he stuck this thing up my nose, and I could feel and hear a crunching sound in my upper nasal cavity. And at the time, I was just like, dude, that's not cool. Like, you're scaring me here. What are
What are
you
you
doing?
doing,
I
man?
thought you were my friend, and now you're shoving something up my nose. And I'm just a little kid, right? So, and then a few years later, I'd wake up occasionally and there'd be a blood stain on my pillow. And I don't typically have nosebleeds. And I didn't understand at the time that that was them putting an implant in my nose. But I read about it later that they will put an implant in the upper nasal cavity sometimes. And, you know, so I just put it together that I mean, he didn't say, I'm putting an implant in your nose, and he didn't explain them at the time. You know, it's only in hindsight I figured it out because I had, when I was in my 20s, a metallic golden ball spontaneously fell out of my nose, and I saw it. And that's a whole other long story I won't go into right now because I'm answering a question about the craft. But this was just like the interior of these small craft were just basic. It was just basically empty, not much in there, you know, and there wasn't much room in there.
So your description of the craft, like, how did you know it was a craft, and how did you discern whether or not it was a room in a building or a room within a craft?
Well, I've never had, I never concluded I was in a room in a building. For one thing, the rooms I was in never had corners like regular walls. They weren't squares. They were always
Okay.
round and the walls were always curved. It was always dome and like that. Small rooms, basically. And I remember seeing craft on the outside, seeing the shape of it, sometimes walking into it through a door. Other times it would be hovering up the air and I'd be floated up through the actual hull. I'd actually pass through the solid hull and go up through the floor. So I would see it on the outside and then I'd see it on the inside. And I could see it was the same craft. Like it was a dome. And then if you look against the wall, you could see where the ceiling came down and at the floor, like in an attic in a house, the way you can see it. So if it's an A-frame, the ceiling comes
Right.
down and meets the floor. You can see that on the interior.
Okay. Okay. That's super helpful. So, like, in the A-frame of an attic, as you're saying, you can kind of see where that structure meets the floor with the whatever support beams. And was this a right angle kind of thing, or are you saying it was curved?
It's curved, and it was usually not dramatic. This is probably not, like if I'm looking at the wall of the room I'm in, it's probably not usually the exterior wall. It's probably there's something beyond that because sometimes it'd be like a hallway, and I'd walk around and then go in the room. So it's like an interior room usually, I think. But
Okay.
it's varied. Sometimes I think it was just a craft and there's just one examination room because it was more pronounced where the wall met the floor. Would really go down like a narrow, and you're like, that's not just a wall. Like, that looks like I can see the saucer shape of the craft in the interior.
Right.
I'm being general, but I would like to go, if we have time, to go into at least a couple specific whole encounters, like from the
Yes.
beginning to the end,
I've
and then
also
like, yeah, go ahead.
I've also got your images up. I'd love some
Oh, okay.
visual. Do you? I did bring up. Can you see what I've got pulled up here? Because I've got the different types of craft here. Is that
hmm
coinciding with the story you're thinking about?
Um, okay, I see it. Let's see.
Because you have the
Yeah,
pop up tent, and then
yeah, that's the bottom right. That's more of a, it's a crude drawing, but this is a pop-up or shape, and it's got like lights on the bottom. Sometimes it'd be these circular lights in the bottom,
yeah,
and then there's one in the center, which is also that dome shape. I saw a pyramid shaped one that's about 8 or 9 feet tall, feet high once. It landed on a tennis court, and the next day there were these deep indentations in a triangular pattern on the tennis court, and we were standing around looking at it, a bunch of us. I was like 13 years old. I used to play a lot of tennis, and we couldn't figure out. They thought it was vandalism, but the gates were locked, and we're like I don't know. We couldn't figure out what those indentations were. I knew what those indentations were. It was from the pyramid craft.
so there were indentations on the tennis court left by like a pyramid shaped craft.
Yeah, it was pyramid. It was pyramidal. It had three sides and it was pointed at the top. It wasn't domed, and it
Whoa.
was pretty small. And I've seen every shape: a ball, tic tac shape, rectangular, saucer, usually saucer shaped, but every shape I've
Wow.
seen landed or hovering. Again, I'm just being general, but
Yeah.
I can go into specifics of it.
Yeah, please
Encounter.
do. Go into any specifics you want to, man. Floor's open, dude. I
Yeah,
mean,
I was thinking just to touch
I
on
just love
something.
hearing details.
Yeah, and I want to give more details because we've been more conversational and we have time. So I just wanted to bring up the what we're looking at now. That's the house I grew up in from age 7 to 15. This is New Jersey.
Hmm.
It's actually a town called Flemington, and we used to live down the street in a different house where I was born, not in the house, but in the hospital. And then I lived in that house at 7. I was moved into this house, and hundreds of people from that neighborhood were taken over the period of like 10 years. And yeah,
So
I said,
hundreds of people were taken from that neighborhood in the
yeah,
period of 10 years.
yeah. It happened often that they would pick me up and then see how now in this picture I circled that was my bedroom, these two windows, and my bed was in between these two windows. This was a specific encounter. They floated me out the window down to the ground, and then if you follow the arrows, I walked behind the house, and there's a craft landed in the backyard. And the next day, well, when I walked onto that craft, I didn't see a being. It was a small top 10 size craft. I drew it as a saucer because I couldn't do the top 10 shape, but I did see saucer shapes landed. But in this particular memory, it was a top 10 shaped craft. And I looked up and I saw two grays standing there, and they kept disappearing and reappearing. And then they said, he can see you. And the other one said, no, he can't. I could hear them talking in my mind. I could see them, and I wasn't supposed to be able to. And they
What?
were coming, popping in and out of my visual view on the inside of the craft.
So you were kind of like almost like in Harry Potter where he has the invisibility cloak and there's like
Yeah,
the people talking about him and they're like they know something's happening, but you're able to here's what I always like to think about, like
Yeah,
from the other person, the entity's perspective. How funny is it that maybe they couldn't see you and you could see them, and then it switched, or maybe they have some polarity on whatever frequency they're emitting, and they were surprised. I always love any kind of specific detail or story that pertains to that, where the entity or the alien is surprised by something. So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting
right.
at, is that they were kind of surprised that you could see them, right?
Yeah, and that wasn't totally unique, but it was unique as far as seeing them. There's other times when I noticed things when they were surprised, and but this time is a major thing because when I walked on the craft, I didn't see them at first, but we had a mental communication. I sensed their presence, and then I saw them, and I noticed it was strange because they were just standoffish, just looking at me, and then I was just looking at them, and the other one's looking at me and goes, "You can see us." And the other one said, "No, he can't. Like, he's not supposed to." So yes, he can. He's staring at us. And I could see them, and then they disappeared and they reappeared. Something was malfunctioning. I wasn't supposed to see them, but I was seeing them. They were standing there spying on me, but I could see them. I don't know why, but it was unique. Yeah, it was weird. Uh,
Yeah.
and it gives me chills thinking about it because little things like that. Like, I never heard anyone else say that. Like, I didn't read that in the book. And my memories go back to the 60s and 70s. I didn't know anything about this. Wasn't in books, alien abduction, except maybe Betty and Barney Hill. Like, that's completely different, their experience, from what I experienced. Like, I didn't get it from books, right? So then the next day in the morning, I went out in the yard, and there's indentations in the yard, right where the crash was sitting. It looked like golf ball holes, like on a golf course. There's deep holes, like in a triangular pattern. Like there had been three legs that had come out of it. And my father was standing there looking at it too. And he thought it was vandalism. And I said, "No, that's where the craft landed." And he said, "You were just dreaming. You were just dreaming." I was like, "No, I saw a craft sitting there." So that was
Wow.
weird because I actually saw the landing traces in the yard. That was physical. There's no mistaking it. It was right where that craft was sitting. And
This is
I'm positive.
random question. Was this trampoline there when this happened?
Now, this video was taken about 4 or 5 years ago. I was long gone, and that is not in my yard. That trampoline. It looks like a ship, doesn't it?
I
It's
I mean,
circular.
I was just asking for anybody that might be thinking like, oh, maybe the trampoline flew over because of the wind, but this was when you were a younger kid, correct? So this was way before that trampoline was there, right?
Yeah, probably when I was there, it was like 1970, 1972. I was 10 or 12. Like, I was 12 in 1974. So I'm the same age as Tom Cruise, right? He's actually older than me. But that this video, it was weird because I randomly found it on YouTube. I think this video was made like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm watching it, and a drone hovered over Flemington, right? And then I looked at the beginning again, and I realized the drone took off from the house right next door to the house that I grew up in, and I was like, that coincidence really blew my mind. It was like I was meant to see this because it's an aerial view of my damn house. Like,
Oh,
it could have
that's
been
so
any
cool.
house in Chapel Hill. It was not Chapel Hill in Flemington, and it was the house I grew up in. And looking at it, I mean, that's the perspective the aliens had, right? If they were
Yeah,
hovering over my house,
yeah, that's what they saw, dude.
it's like perfect. It's like it was put there for me to circle it.
I can relate to you in somewhat of a way. My wife and I were looking for a to move to a quieter part of outer Austin, and we were actually. I would have loved to buy my childhood home in Taylor. Fortunately, it was way too expensive,
Yeah,
but like just seeing it on the internet at an aerial glance was fucking something about it freaked me out, dude.
interesting.
And
Yeah, it is weird.
I don't know.
That
I don't know if that's just like for everybody, but just I mean, yeah,
And
a lot has changed about the house, but like just seeing it from an
mhm.
aerial view is weird. I don't know. It gave me
It's
chills.
eerie. It's eerie for me when I saw this. Like I went and I took the web captures, and then I had time to really look at it. I was like, man, this is eerie. Like I mean, like so many times it just puts me in the twilight zone because I
Yeah.
think I just like the stuff I experienced. I don't
Yeah.
know what it sounds like to other people, but even to me, like I realize it just sounds just nuts. But it happens. Like it's just my life has just been weird.
I think it's I think it's I think your story, I mean, you come from a humble perspective. If you've been listening this entire night with us guys, we're with Adam Ambrose. I mean, back to you, Adam. Like your approach to this whole thing is really refreshing. Not that our previous guests haven't been this way. Like most of the people that we invite on the show are humble in a way where they're like, dude, I don't know what happened, but this is what I remember. That's kind of, if there's anything specific about our show, that's it. It's like, hey, we want to talk to real people, and uh, we're not interested in selling books. I mean, if you have a book, dude, love that. Let's do it. But if you're, not wanting, we can go into a rabbit hole about that. But we
Yeah,
always like to talk about like your experience, right? And I just want to touch on this for a sec, dude. Is you sharing your story, you sharing your emotions, and just putting yourself out there, dude. I mean, so that you started talking right in 2015, is that correct?
I did my first interview in March of 2015.
March of, okay. So how has your perspective of your own experience changed as you've been talking openly about this on like radio shows, if I can ask that?
It's been cathartic. It's been helpful. I mean, I had all my memories come back to me in a flood of memories after reading Intruders by Bud Hopkins in 1993. I was 30 years old. And over the period of a year or two, all these memories came back. Whereas before I only had periodic awareness, whereas limited awareness. And so then in the 90s, we didn't even have the internet then. Who was I going to talk to, right? So I was very isolated. I tried to talk to people, coworkers and family members, and there's only the odd person here and there who's interested, and it was fleeting, and I never really got much of a chance to talk about it. I was lonely with it. I finally just stopped talking about it because I couldn't really, there was no outlet in the 90s. Then we got the internet, but I didn't do that interview till 2015. So I spent like 20 years with this, intense awareness and not talking about it. And when I started doing interviews, it it did alleviate a lot of that feeling of isolation and frustration with it. And I got people saying, "Oh, I experienced the same thing." It's cool to hear someone say, you know, maybe what you experienced isn't so weird. Maybe it's normal. Maybe a lot of people are experiencing this. They just don't talk about it. Now on the internet, everyone's talking about it. It's coming out. And like you said, I don't have a book. I just wanted to talk about it. Linda Moulton Howe interviewed me for 2 hours privately on the phone in 2013, and she wanted to do a podcast with me. And I backed out because I had done interviews, so I was nervous. So I thought, oh, I'll do third person move, and I did that. And then every interview I did after that was awesome to be. And 4 months later, on the front of Art Bell, was a whirlwind, and I was a big fan of his. So it was like the whole thing was exciting. I felt like the Beatles coming to the United States and going on the Ed Sullivan show. It was exciting, but then my feet were on the ground also because, like you say, there's the dark side of it where when the microphones are turned off and you're alone and you go to bed, it's just like it could be a letdown. All the you just you get something out of talking about it, but you're like, I have to live with this my whole life. It's still hard. So I mean, it's hard to reconcile. It's like I still have a hard time reconciling the feeling like I was used, but I feel like I have a purpose to inform people and maybe encourage other people to talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. Some people don't want to know, maybe they shouldn't. It can disrupt your life. It can be scary. It can break up relationships. I've lost friends over talking about it. So it's a personal thing. Whether or not an abductee chooses to talk about it, that's a personal decision.
Man, I love that so much. That's so great to hear that your journey has been what sounds like a positive one. And
Yeah.
important one I think a lot of people are going through, especially with the times now
Mhm.
where it's in the news, all this stuff like everybody's been talking about for freaking ever, and now it's in the news. It's bittersweet for a lot of us that like to have fun with this and talk about it, and like this is what we do to alleviate our day-to-day stuff. Like this is what I just love to do. Like, this is my passion. But for you, it's different, man. So I can't even put myself in your shoes. I can empathize, but no one really can understand where you're coming from. So thank you for opening up about that and explaining a little more. Like, I love what you said. At the end of the day, after those interviews,
Mhm.
it's you, man. It's you and your thoughts. It's you and your memories. It's like, oh, you got this high, and you
Yeah.
enjoy talking and relating to other people and hearing other people's stories. Like, oh, that's what I saw. Oh, I saw that too. And at the end of the night, if you're just on the internet, if you're not at a like an event or something, it's just you, man. At the end of the night, and I love that you mentioned that. I think that's something a lot of people need to hear. Is that you're not alone that you had these experiences, but at the end of the night, after the internet and all the shows are over, you got to deal with that stuff. So how do you?
Yeah.
What's I mean,
What it's like.
we've got more time to talk about this. I mean, we're gonna bring it back up here, but like while we're talking about it, Adam, is there any advice for our listeners out there that may be going through something like this and haven't really talked about it? And those ups and downs, those ebbs and flows. Is there anything that you've experienced that you can give some advice to those out there?
It's tough because everyone's experiences are different. Mine were like, I always had early awareness since I was a little kid. I was A lot of times I'll hear abductees say they had a fearful indoctrination to it. They had limited memories, and then maybe they saw an alien in their bedroom and it scared the crap out of them. And like, they almost have a nervous breakdown sometimes. And so I don't know what to say to those people because that didn't happen to me. I I was always deeper into it. I had a deep relationship with them. They were my friends. They didn't, for the most part, scare me, although they did terrorize me a few times. But I would say it's tough. You have to. First of all, you have to decide what's important to you, um, how you feel about it. If you really need to know, maybe ultimately you're going to have to find someone to talk to, a therapist, a researcher. You might even consider hypnosis if you really need to have the answers. But like my brother for the longest time said, I don't want to know. I don't want it to change my life. I don't want hypnosis. And he's had like missing time and UFO sightings, and I think he's an abductee. But he doesn't delve into it like I do, like I did. Like I worked with Todd Hopkins. I had like over 5 hypnosis sessions. I traveled up to his art studio in Manhattan. I worked with him, and I was interviewed by John Mack. Like I actively pursued it. Like I went nuts in the '90s. I talked to every researcher, and it's not because I wanted to be in a book or wanted the spotlight on me. It's because I had no outlet. It was like I was like, this happened to me. I wanted to take the world by the ears and shake it up and say, wake up. Like, don't you know what's going on? Wake up. Like, I could get very emotional about it, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like Richard Dreyfuss with Close Encounters. You feeling compelled, and he's like saying, I've never been here before. You think I investigate every Walter Cronkite story there is? What the hell's going on here? He wants answers.
Yeah.
And I think other people want answers. And how you seek those answers, it's personal, but you should get support. Like, it's scary, and you should talk, at least try to talk to friends. But you don't want to scare people because it can end friendships. They can go, I think that's weird. You have to be careful about who you talk to about it, and maybe start with talking to a therapist. That's what I did. The first people I went to is I went to two different therapists, even though I already knew what it was, Because before I went to a researcher, I wanted to be able to say, well, look, I have my feet on the ground. I'm a stable person. I'm not delusional. I was realistic. I went to a therapist, right? I availed myself to therapy. I listened to their theories. Well, this might be this, and this might be that. And I was like, no, I know what this is. So I approached it pragmatically. I didn't just go banging on the door of a researcher. And someone criticized me once and said, don't just call up a radio show. I never did that for 20 years. I just did field research. I went to air shows. I talked to pilots, and they told me their experiences. And an old woman at a meeting, a UFO meeting, she said, I saw a bright ball of light shimmering the size of a basketball. She said, before I die, I wish I could just know what that was I saw. And I wanted to tell her, I think you saw an alien. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to scare her. It's hard to talk in real life. It's easy to do an interview, right? But it's hard to talk in real life to people because you don't want to scare them.
Well, it's also like the entrance and the exit in real life. Like on the internet, you could just say something in a chat room and like exit the window. But in real life, you've got to be like, oh, now I've interacted with you and we're breathing the same air. I said something weird. I regret it now. Anyway, tell me about you. There's so much more to it when you're in person. I get that, man. Like when we were, Joe and I were at we've been to 2 conferences and a whopping 2. And the people, man, the people that we were able to interact with in the stories were so amazing. Like it was just mind blowing. And we just didn't have enough time to talk to everybody. Like it is not that it's just like we had a podcast or no, we were at the time literally just starting, just 2 dudes. I'm just saying as a person, there were so many people that I wanted to talk to. I just didn't have enough time to hear their full story. Like they would start talking to somebody else or they were like, hey, whatever. So there's all these social cues that you have to do with real life interactions. So I can understand and relate to what you're talking about. Like it's hard to even say hi to somebody in real life, even though like, dude, if we were to see each other in real life, we'd be like, yay, I know you, even though we've had a conversation for 2.5 hours or whatever. But yeah, I relate to that, and I'm sure there's other people out there that will too. So
I don't know.
So would you like recommend anybody that's kind of going through this kind of stuff to just talk about this in real life or maybe start online, or is that kind of I'm synthesizing a little bit.
It's hard for me to give advice. I don't really know. Like, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did I cut you off on that? I mean,
you needed to. I usually have Joe to cut me off when I start rambling, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's hard to give advice because, like I said, it's different. Like people experience. I don't know what someone else is going through. Like they might be going through something really hard. Like when I went to I've only been to a few conferences. It was just to meet the researchers. I had arranged a meeting with Bud Hopkins. So the first time he hypnotized me was in Pensacola, Florida, at a hotel, and he introduced me to Linda Napolitano, who is in the book was Linda Cortez.
So you said Bud Hopkins. We're a little muffled on the microphone. Just wanted to make sure everybody heard that.
Yeah, Bud Hopkins. I'll try to articulate. I don't always articulate real well, but he introduced me to her. So you two sit down and talk because you have a lot in common. And there was a girl that came up to us in the restaurant, and she was waitressing, and she was all nervous. And she said, "I'm so sorry. I just wanted to introduce myself." She said, "I've had experiences. I was abducted, and I don't really work in this hotel. I just got this job for the weekend so I could attend the conference." And I was like, "You need to talk to her more than I do." She was distraught, and I was just like, I gave up my chance to talk to Linda. I said, "You two just sit down and talk." And it just gave that away, even though I wanted to talk to her. And it's like, I just couldn't help it. And I did that because she needed to talk to. So I don't know. I mean, if someone's distraught, I wouldn't go to the internet first. Maybe family member or a therapist. Um, if they're just curious and they're not sure, if they just had a weird dream of sleep paralysis, research it on the internet. And what they have now is networks of therapists who, like, when Hopkins was still around, you could contact his people, and they had a whole. They would go state by state, and like they recommended a therapist who had worked with abductees. So the first therapist that was a university guy, he knew nothing about this, but the second guy was actually someone who had worked with abductees. So it made it a little easier because a standard therapist is going to push on you that maybe you were abused, and they're going, I want to really look at this and make sure that something
Right.
didn't happen. And it's like, I saw aliens in my house, mother effer. Like I didn't speak to him that way, but he really irritated me that he would go right to that, and it's like, I mean, I saw a landing trace in my backyard, but they don't get that. That's fine.
Hmm.
Okay, so like, I'm all over the board here, so that I don't know, and it's frustrating for me because I don't know what to say to people. Maybe I'm not the best advice giver. Like my experience is pretty far out. Like maybe most people don't come to it the way I did. There's so much awareness, so
Right. No,
different.
yeah, there's a whole balance to that whole thing, right? But that's awesome to get your perspective on it. It's awesome to hear from your perspective on that. I think that's super important that people need to hear. But hey, dude, we've got some questions from the chat if you don't mind. We're still waiting on Joe. I think he might be tied up. He just texted me and said that
Mm-hmm.
he just got done with his job, and
Yeah.
his phone is on 1%, and he's racing home. So I don't know if we'll be able to make it because we usually tie up around, in the thing around like 10:30. So we'll see. We'll hang on, but we do have some questions from the chat. And yeah, Big Willie asks, what has been the biggest regret in dealing with these experiences over the years?
The biggest regret. I'm not sure how to
And it could be a positive thing,
interpret
like
that.
didn't eat enough peanut butter sandwiches. I don't know.
I I didn't eat enough peanut butter sandwiches, but I like those
He's
peanut butter wafers.
he said I didn't eat enough peanut butters.
I tried to,
I
but
tried to.
regret. I'm not sure how to interpret the question. Like regret in what sense, and how
Yeah,
it relates to taking like that I didn't punch one in the face more often, like
that's a
something
great
like that.
that's a great answer. Yeah. Like, did you ever
'Cause
feel like punching one in the face?
I did, and I actually did punch one in the face once,
Okay.
and
Adam Ambrose punches alien in the face.
and I was gonna go into that experience, but I don't know if we're gonna have time. But that's the one where I remember more about being on the craft and what it looked like, and a high school friend of mine, and I was upset because they were they were being rough with him, and he was scared, and they were kind of escorting me to leave, and one was behind me, and I just kind of reeled around, and this is when I was young and like actually fit and strong, and I really got him good, and his eye cracked. It was like it was covered with a plastic coating, and it cracked his heart. He was kind of stunned, and so I regret that I didn't punch him more in the face. That's the truth, and like I regret that I was so freaking naive as a little kid and such a good little boy. Looking back on my life, I was such a good little boy. I was so socially naive. It's not that I could have done anything about it. That's just who I am. I think they took advantage of that, and maybe I could have asserted myself more and like put up more of a fight. I don't know if it would have made a difference. And I also regret just being so isolated and not talking about it more earlier.
Right. All great answers, dude. I mean, it's tough. Like, where do you start? And I feel like you aced that one because first it's like you start with this this innate feeling of defense, of self-preservation, flight or fight. And I think that's what we all, when we wake up from those dreams and we're like in a fight and we can't, we're like, meh, we just can't throw that fist. It's almost like that feeling. You wake up like disappointed in yourself, like, dude. And in your case, you mentioned that there was another person being kind of, maybe abused is the wrong term, but maybe like just manhandled in a way that you weren't totally okay with, and you wanted to stick up for that person, and you didn't, or maybe you couldn't, dude. I mean, maybe that's something that you have to come to terms with. Even if you could, they have such control over your mental state that even if you wanted to, maybe that one punch. I mean, I'm imagining in my head, you said you mentioned you punched an alien in the face, which is badass. That needs to be on your t-shirt. But I would imagine those aliens were like, oh, he sucker punched me, dude. It was a mistake. I wasn't paying attention, which I think is fun.
Well, I had mentioned that during a Linda Moulton Howe live stream. She commented that happened. Like, I was surprised that I pulled that off. But it was because my friend was struggling earlier, and I was so pissed off about it that toward the end, it was kind of retribution for that. And he was like struggling on the table, and they were like pinning him down, and he was scared. And I think it was that they were unsuspecting, that there were beings in front of me, whispers were all around me, and so I was just about to leave the craft, so there was like a moment, like a lull, like I think they dropped their guard or something, and it was the way I did it. I just reeled around, like spun around on my heel, and it was so quick. Like, he was standing right behind me, and I don't think could get out of the way. Sometimes I wonder if some of this is orchestrated and it's all theater, and they wanted me to hit him just to study my reaction or some weird thing. But after I hit the alien, they swarmed the crap out of me. They grabbed me by the arms, and their little hands were like a vice grip. It was so, they were so strong, it hurt. And they literally just dragged me out. Like, they were so pissed off at me.
How little? You said little hands.
Well, I'm only 5'6.5", and they were significantly smaller than me, so they had to be under 5 feet. I mean,
under 5 feet. And do you remember, like, do you remember anything like number of digits? Like, some species of greys have 3 main fingers and an opposable thumb.
They had 3 long main fingers and an opposable thumb, and they had like little circles on the pads of the fingers that looked like suction cups. I saw a close up of their hand in a different experience. So
very interesting.
That, and the hand was like, when they would grab onto you, there was no getting loose, and that's why I was able to hit them, because they weren't making contact with me. They were trusting me. You see. See, they were trusting me, and so I had a moment where, okay, well, screw you, man. I'm gonna pull a Mayweather on you and knock your ass out.
I'll teach you to trust me, man.
There's no clause. There's no knockout clause on a spaceship, because I'll drop you. Like, we're talking about like the aliens. Like, I'm making jokes, but that was real. I was pissed off. They were pissed off, and they got me the hell off that craft so fast after that. And they were very angry, very angry. Like, because I was in telepathic communication with them, I could feel their emotions. People say they're not emotional. Well, they were angry. They were emotional.
Okay, well, dude, oh my gosh, I feel like we could write a short story on that story, because there's so much to it. I know we've got some more questions, dude, if you don't mind. The next one is Eric. asked about the documentary. I message you here in the chat. We're working on that, my friend. Let us know. Mr. Crowley and Dave. This is from Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio, who is on next at 11 p.m. CST. That stands for Central Standard Time. We love Dave Scott around here. Mr. This song, I won't sing the song, but Mr. Crowley asks, question for Adam. Do you feel you are sensitive, chosen, or cursed with all of this?
Do I feel sensitive, chosen, or cursed? Well, I don't go right to cursed. I mean, you could, in a philosophical sense, feel that way, but I don't view this in I view it as happening to a lot of people. It's not just me. I view it as that I was exploited for my nature. I have a helpful, trusting nature, and I think that they exploited that in me, and I feel like I was deceived, and I feel like I didn't get anything out of it. They kind of make you feel like, okay, we love you, and you have a sense of a benefit because expanded my awareness, or my awareness is like, at least I know we're not alone in the universe.
Yeah.
And you can get high off that for a while. Man, this is so groovy, and it's an amazing thing to know we're not alone in the universe. But then when you peel back the layer of that, you get to the center of it, and you go, wait a minute. I don't care how you dress it up. You forced me to go on that ship, and you did stuff to me that I'm not okay with. And so I feel exploited. I don't know if that answers the question.
I think it does answer a lot of questions, and you hit home for me, my friend, dude. Like when you said that high of realizing you're not the only living thing on the universe.
Yeah,
bro,
that's
like
that's
like a 5-year high. Like it's like a building high where it only gets more intense, and like you reach this pinnacle, and I'm not there yet. Thank God. I'm still kind of riding that thing. I mean, I've always been interested in the subject, and who knows, I mean, how long this goes back in my childhood, but the realization that we're not alone in the universe has been such a roller coaster for me. There's like been ups and downs. So I don't feel like it's a one-time thing. I think it's an ebb and flow thing where like you go through low times, you go through high times, and sometimes it manifests. Sometimes it manifests as spirituality and like getting connected with yourself and your body and connecting with the earth. And then all of a sudden, like a month later, you're like, I only need evidence. I need the freaking medals in my hand. I need a ting on a ting ting. I don't think it's a one-hit wonder, this whole experience. But that's just me.
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah. So how do you can you relate it all? Being an
being
an experiencer that can remember very vivid details. Like, is that something that you're familiar with? Like that down, like that up and down kind of thing?
Yeah, I had like I said, prior to the age of 30, I had more limited awareness. Although when the event would happen, I had a lot of awareness, but then that would fade, and I had different times in my life I looked at it differently. When I was a little kid, they were my friends, and I loved it. Like it was like my brother letting Peter Pan to come, and I had out of body experiences, and I'd be on the ceiling looking at my body. I relate that to these experiences as a possible screen memory, but then as I got older, it challenged me. Like I'd have times when I wasn't sure if it was real because I might have had a lot. I did have a lot of witnesses, people who saw aliens around me at the time of the event would come up to me afterwards and say, I was playing tennis, to give an example, of like 13, 14, and I had missing time, and I saw it in my head. I remember there's an alien behind the backdrop, behind the tennis court. And this kid comes up to me after I come off the tennis court, and he said, I went back there and I saw a weird creature back there, and you were standing next to me. And he said, are you an alien? And I said, no, I'm not an alien. But it freaked me out that he saw the damn alien that I saw. And so he saw it too. So I had that personal proof. So like I know unequivocally, I could say conclusively this is physically real. And I know it. So I'm in a different place. Like I did go through years of not knowing it, but I had so much memories of witnesses. I had a guy from Farmington. He was the father of my sister's best friend, and his older sister was abducted. And the next day, he took me inside and said, "You're in danger. I saw you in my house last night with some kind of strange creature. What's going on? What was that I saw? Do you know what this is?" And he was like scared. He
Damn.
was really scared. And then I said, I just played it off, but I was like, yeah, I know what that is. Yeah, that's my friend or whatever, or something, you know. And he was
Damn.
like freaked out by that. Like, you know what this is? You're so nonchalant about it. And just like, he was just astonished. And we never talked about it again. But when you have people seeing your so-called dream, it's not a dream because dreams don't have witnesses. Dreams don't leave no indications to be backed up. So I don't care what anybody says. I know that I experienced. I was there. So if
I
you
don't care who
experience
you
it
are.
yourself, yeah, experience it for yourself and then tell me if it's real or not. But if you haven't experienced it, just withhold judgment because I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Am I the only one saying this?
Nope. I don't think so. I don't think there would be millions of people talking about it if you're really the only one.
That's that's where we are now, right?
Yeah.
It's the present day, the internet, Lou Elizondo, all these revelations that are coming out. It's like it's I told you so. Like in a way, you know, it's like I knew that. I knew all this when I was a little kid in the '60s and '70s. I already knew this. It's not news to me. Like
I
if you
I
want to know what
I
it's like,
already knew that though.
that's
Kyle.
well, that's what it's like. I'm saying. If
Yeah.
you want to know my perspective is this is almost like just going to the grocery store to get eggs. It's like, okay, here's the guys again. Here we go again.
Yes. I
It's
love
like,
that.
all right.
Well, speaking of eggs, the next question is from Randy. Question is, do you think the aliens are organic or robotic?
I used to think that they were organic until in recent years I've been hearing researchers talk about having like the androids, and I'm not sure, but I think the idea that they might tend to send an artificial intelligence and androids to interact with us rather than the primary like alien intelligence showing up themselves kind of makes sense to me. I kind of am leaning toward we may not be actually interacting with the aliens, but androids that the aliens created, you know, to interact with us. I kind of lean toward that, but I don't know. Like, how would I know? Like, I don't know.
Right.
So I don't. I mean, I don't know. It could be a mix. I wonder if maybe some of the grays, the taller ones, the doctors, because there was always one that would be standing and looking at me from the corner, and he had a coat on, and he'd come over, had like an insignia on it, and
Oh,
he was different. He was more intelligent, more informed, and he would talk to me. The other ones would just like be like, "Hey, how you doing? Okay, get on the
hey, how you
table.
doing? What you
Get on the
doing? What time
table.
is lunch over
What?
here? What kind of
Yeah,
sandwich you got?
yeah, it was like, what do you want? Mayo, mustard? No, but it was like
Nice.
that. They were worker bees.
Love
He
mayo
was saying,
mustard, dude.
I get it.
Hold on,
Really
dude.
super. Yeah,
So the was okay. You mentioned sorry, dude. I got all excited about sandwiches. Love sandwiches. The taller being, is that the mantis type creature or I feel like that's racist when I say that creature. Like, was it the mantis type being that had
Mm-hmm.
the coat on? And you said insignia. Like, does that mean that there's like branding going on in the alien
No,
world? Is there a job for
all
me as a
red.
graphic designer in the alien world? Because that's dope, dude.
Yeah, it was a circle, and I don't remember exactly, but I tried to draw it once, and I drew like just what I could remember. It had a triangle, and it had something similar to the American Medical Association. It was like a snake-looking thing,
Oh,
and it was like
there's
winding,
a word for
winding.
that. Help us
Yeah,
out. Help us out in the chat. What's the name for that staff with the wings and the snake?
yeah, it was similar to that.
Yeah.
It was serpent-like, um, and triangular, but overall circular. So I think it was like a triangle and a circle or something. That I saw a Nordic being with a medallion around his neck with five spokes, and he had a high collar, high white collar and a robe, and he looked like Moses. And he was old. He kind of had wrinkles, but like real good looking old, like sort of like an alien Clint Eastwood kind of thing. He had going on like photogenic features.
Damn. I'm not trying to make a joke here, but did you
Neither
say
am I. No,
did you say that he had nipples?
no. Did I said what did I say? I said medallion with five spokes, a high collar, wrinkles. That's what you heard.
Wrinkles.
Yeah,
Got it.
wrinkles.
Got it. Got it.
Right.
That is funny. That I heard.
That
I
is
thought you
funny.
said nipples because I thought you were talking about like shiny nipple. Sorry. But yeah, no, like, but the description though, like, we're talking about like very specific things that you remember. This high collared shirt, or kind of, would it be considered like a doctor's? Not a robe. What do you call it? Like not a scrub, but like, was it white? Do you remember like what color the shirt, the clothing was?
Well, the Nordic being, it wasn't like a smock type uh, coat that they wear in examination rooms like doctors. It was a robe, sort of more akin to what you'd see a priest wear, flowing, like it looked majestic, like he was a prince or a king, and it had this Elvis Presley high collar, and I think it was pleated if I remember correctly, um, and it was this really weirdly high collar and long white hair, and he just came down in the back outside the sliding glass door, floating down, saw the feet first, and I was terrified. But then I heard a sound like a flute, a beeping noise, a high pitched sound. It calmed me, and I was told to perfectly calm, and I went outside to open the door, and he was right in front of me. He was tall, and I looked at his forehead, and the third eye opened up on his forehead. And when I saw that eye, it was like our consciousness melded into one, like a mind meld. And it's like I was like aware of just so much more. I can't explain that feeling. It was amazing. I've never done drugs, so it had to be like doing drugs. I don't know. It was really amazing.
So you mind melded with this humanoid or Nordic person. So
Yeah,
we've gone through. I mean, this is what makes your story so fascinating, because of not only have you
yeah,
encountered so many different types of craft, which makes your story very, just by itself, very interesting, because a lot of people only experience maybe one, maybe two, if any. But the beings, the grays are the
yeah.
most common in my experience of the things that the things that I've learned, the people that I've experienced and talked to.
Mhm.
The grays seem to be like, the question was back to like, are these beings mechanical, robotic, or biological? And I loved your answer where like, might be both, and we just don't know how to talk about it, or there's not a word for it yet. Maybe it's both.
Yeah,
And that
but,
seems to be like the common denominator in a lot of
yeah,
experiences, where there's at least a couple of like worker dudes with tiny hands, and as you said, they're like strong as hell, man.
yeah.
Um,
But, yeah.
and then it's accompanied by either a mantis or a Nordic or sometimes in your case both, which is, man, that
Uh,
like if there was a checkbox, like it's a lot of checks. It's pretty awesome.
yeah, they say that the grays may be separate from the Nordic spot. In that experience, I saw a gray, and I got up in the middle of the night, and I was like in this, like I said, it's an altered state of awareness, but I knew I wasn't dreaming. And there was a knock on the door, and I opened the door, and there was a woman standing there in a weird big hat, like in the movie The Exorcist, where this guy shows up with a black hat. She had this like weird black hat on, and she looked up at me, and she transformed into a gray. And when I saw that, it scared the crap out of me, and I slammed the door. And then as soon as I saw that, I started to panic, and that's when I started to really alter my awareness because I couldn't handle it. And then I slipped into like this what they call the Oz factor. It's just I couldn't handle that, her turning into a brick. So I know I really saw that. And then that's when I heard the beeping sound and the Nordic showed up. And then in the morning, my roommate said, "Did you leave the sliding glass door open?" I told you to always check it, lock it. I said, "No, it was closed and locked when I went to bed." He said, "But I did open it when we went outside last night." But I thought that was like, I said I had this weird experience and I saw this guy with a white beard and he said, "You look like you saw a ghost." And I said, "That's really weird because I thought I saw a man with a white beard in my room last night." And he looked at me and he
Oh.
said, "This is really weird and I don't want to talk about this anymore." And he just walked away and we never talked about it again. In fact, he left shortly after that. He didn't want to be roommates with me anymore.
Oh,
It was just a random roommate over the 20s. And I was like, yeah, again, witness. So why are they doing that? Okay, they're telling me, hello, this is real. This, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And there's a reason, and I don't know what the reason is that they're telling me, they're using me maybe as a sort of spokesperson. This is real. Like they don't want to just show up on the White House lawn and tell everyone all at once, but they let certain select people know with enough personal proof. Now, maybe people won't believe me, right? But I've got so many witnesses that I could pull up right now. Like I could get next time we talk, if we talk again, I get there's witnesses that we talk to. Like I have witnesses.
Hell yeah.
Uh,
I feel
yeah.
like your story, we could chat for a couple of years and we won't even get to the end of it.
Oh, we could do a show every week for the next 5 years, and I'm serious.
Yeah,
Because
no, I've seen what you yeah, the little bit that you sent me is man, it's so fascinating. I I hope that we can have you back on to, I don't know, maybe we could do like a once a month check in with Adam, dude, or shit. Maybe you should. I think we might start doing a roundtable. That's a common thing in the ufology, but not just that. But having a roundtable with your buds and just kind of chatting about stuff, dude. You're always welcome to do that. So I'll let you know. But man, your
yeah,
your
no,
story
that would be good.
is so lengthy, like that.
Mm.
Even though we've jumped around, what seems like we've jumped around a
Yeah,
lot tonight, we really have been constricted to really one tiny portion of your story. There's so much more. Is there, as we kind of end tonight, we got about 7 more minutes. I honestly, I don't think we should wait for Joe. I mean, I might wait for Joe. I mean, yeah, he said
yeah,
we're still setting up. He texted me. Sorry, this he said, sorry, bro, this turned into a dumpster fire, and my phone is at 1%. So yeah, but dude, we would love to have you back
mm,
on. And what I always like to end these interviews, and anybody we talk to, I mean, it's not even an interview. It's just a bunch of people hanging out and talking about their experiences,
mm,
and you were this source of knowledge. You were close to the subject that we're all so passionate and interested about. So what I
yeah,
always like to end these things is like,
mm,
like how can we take something positive away from your experience, or is there something that you could put out in the universe that people can hold on to, that's in a more positive light? Because there is a lot of darkness.
Mhm.
What's something positive you can bring out from this?
Yeah. Well, that would my answer would have to be age old, that love overcomes all. Love heals. Love is the answer. If you can love and be loved, you can heal. You can have a good life. You can overcome anything, and that's what life is about. We can't lose our humanity in this. If we're being exploited, we can't allow them to take away our hearts.
Love
That's
that.
what we have. I will never let them. They cannot, hinge on that. Love is eternal. I love my family. I love my friends. They can't take that away from me. That's what we have is our humanity. You could stand by that. Yeah, because I'm not like a doomsday sayer. I don't want to, scare people. I don't know what the end game is. So I try to stay open minded. And I just say, live your life and appreciate all the blessings you have. Sit down, write out everything you're happy and thankful for, especially during the holidays. Appreciate being loved, the people who love you. And that's just the beauty of being human, the capacity for love and understanding. And my mission in life is to try to make the world a better place before I leave. So they can't stop me from being a good person.
Love that. Beautiful. It's damn beautiful, Adam. Look at you. Look at you being a beautiful human being. Even
Well,
after all you've been through, you can
I,
still come out of this. I mean, we're all kind of weird, right? I mean,
yeah,
you're a normal person considering everything you've been through, dude.
yeah,
In my opinion, and you're a great dude. You're a
yeah.
positive guy. You're a
Well,
funny guy. Man, I've just so enjoyed chatting with you tonight, man. With you in the
yeah,
garage, the UFO garage. I can't tell you
yeah,
how
it was
much I
great.
appreciate you.
I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you. It was a great experience. And it's just, I'm just trying. I wish that I could have gone into more specific detail about entire events, but the conversation for what it was, I feel this was really uh, special, and I had got the chance to say things that I probably never said before in the interview.
That's what it's about, man. It's about well, this show is about getting to know people. It's not about
Right.
hearing. It's not about those
Yeah,
headlines. It's not about
very true.
the shock and wow factor. Um,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
and if you're looking for that, there's other shows that do that better than us.
Oh,
We like to get to know people here. So
no, I've done. I'm not looking for that. Like, I mean, I just know the conversation is is great, and I just have an awareness that people want to hear, one entire event. Like you said, the craft. I thought, like, next time if we talk, ask me about the times I saw grays while I was awake, because I saw them sometimes when I was awake. So there's a lot of stuff we can go into, and I want to share that. Is what I'm saying. It's like not to like shock people or, or for ratings or whatever, but it's just to get a complete picture. You can't give a complete picture in 2 hours.
yeah, it's
You just
true.
can't.
Well,
Can't.
let alone like a 45-minute interview like we were talking about earlier. It's just it's not possible. That's why people write books, right? And that's kind of what we like. The
Yeah.
vibe we want to bring is like, dude, we'd love to have you back on and dive deeper into your story.
Okay.
Next time we come, you come
Okay.
on, we'll just kind of give a brief overview, and then
Mhm.
yeah, next time just take some, or I'll take some notes of like kind of what we talked about. And I know I have specific questions after speaking with you tonight, and I know a lot of our listeners are going to be really interested in asking you. I know after the fact, there's a really awesome portion that watches us live, and
Right.
they're fan through. But there's many more that watch the show and listen to it on the all the podcast networks out there. So I guarantee you there are going to be a lot more questions coming for you next time you're on.
This was great. I love talking to you. The the best experience I've had so far. The best
Hey,
experience.
cheers, dude.
Talking.
Cheers. we got wine. I don't know
Yeah.
if you got any beer, dude. What do we?
I
Oh,
just
I should
got
drink it now.
Pepsi. It's got caffeine. I was pretty tired tonight, so I'm sorry if I was a little slurred in my speech and all over the place, but I just was struggling to stay awake.
You sounded freaking fantastic, dude. Just be honest. You sounded great. Yeah,
Thanks.
dude. Hey, say hi to your cats for me, dude, or your cat that drinks out of the
Okay.
faucet. And yeah,
will.
dude, we'll be in touch, bro. And I'd love to have you back on. Joe will be joining us next time. He, sends his love and wishes he could have made it, but yeah, work got in the way. So he says what's up and much love.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
next time, dude, I'll reach out to you and schedule the next time. We should just hang out for a little bit and just talk, and we'll figure something out, brother.
That sounds good, and I enjoyed talking to you. It's a great show. I love listening to it.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Love it.
Well, hey, have a good night, brother. I'll talk to you later, man.
I'll talk to you later. Thanks.
All right, peace.
Good night.
Good night, my sweet prince, Adam Ambrose. Adam Ambrose sounds like it should be in a song. Adam Ambrose. Fa la 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 la. Okay, I have not heard back from Joe. Let's give him a call, shall we? By the way, that was awesome. What did you guys think of Adam? Adam was badass. His stories, I know for some of you, the microphone there was a little hard to understand, but I could hear him very clearly, and I have terrible ears, so I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about, dude. Dude, let's just let's give Joe a call, dude. Dude. Tammy says, oh, she says you want to hear more from Adam. Well, he's going to be back on as soon as possible. Let's think this.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
All right. So, screening my calls. Are we, Joseph? Yeah, so I know it's 10:30. SOR comes on at 11. We've got 28 minutes. I was kind of hoping Joe was going to hop on and we'd chat for a little bit. So we've got a little bit of time. Looks like Adam's still in the background. Do we want to ask more questions? Do we want to bring him back in? It seems like he's still here. Or Big Willie, do you want to hop in and save me here, bud? Or are we hanging out? Or what are you doing, dude? I'll send you a link, dude. It's the Big Willie takeover. He's taken over SOR and UFO Garage. And we love him for it. I'll just put it in the damn thing. Whoever wants to join, y'all come on and join. We got 30 minutes, 27 minutes till Spaced Out Radio. We love Spaced Out Radio here at the UFO Garage podcast. We started out as a podcast, me and Joe, two buds, talking about aliens and butts and like boobs and like beer and like partying and like cars and stuff. And now we're doing live YouTube shows, and this is kind of a new thing. And you know what's cool is that we get to talk to people like Adam Ambrose, who have literally seen aliens since he was a child, which is freaking awesome. Simon Wales. What's up, dude? Come join. I put the freaking link in there. Who wants to join, Mare? We got Tammy Finnegan. Where you at, girl? Michael Gutierrez. Simon Wales. Vash the Impaler. That's the wrong accent. Tony. Hey, we got Tony. Oh, snap. What's up, dude?
What's up?
Hey, long time no chat, dude.
What do you mean? Huh?
Long time. I said a long time no
That's
chat.
a long time. It's like 2 weeks.
No, it was like 2 hours. I was just chatting with you.
Oh, Big
Oh,
Willie.
wait.
I'm gonna punch
Hold
him
on,
in the
there he
face.
is.
Him and
Are you shirtless right now, Big Willie?
I got a shirt on. What are you talking about?
dude, I'm still wearing my postal stuff.
Oh yeah, dude. That's what's up. Oh, we got Larry. Boy, what's up, dude?
All right,
Larry shirtless.
Should we all pop our top off? Pop our tops off or what, dude?
Just the right side of the screen, the left side of the screen. Whatever people are looking at, just that side.
I'm not taking my shirt off, but Larry, do not ever put a shirt back on.
All right, fine.
Oh,
Let's
shoot,
go.
I'm sorry.
No.
I wasn't thinking. Get me a shirt, doll.
No, Larry, do not put a shirt on. No, leave it
No.
off.
I wasn't thinking. I mean,
Hey, thanks for-
I didn't know I was going to be put on right now. Oh, no.
Larry's got a little trap suit on right there.
Yeah, well, why are you trying to make us look like you're making us look like chumps, dude? Why are you so buff, dude?
I'm not trying to. No.
Did you ever gonna come here and flex on the boys in the garage? How dare you?
Why are you
When I
flexing,
was
man?
younger, I played football and weightlifting.
Willie, what kind of pillow? Or are you like laying on a Hello Kitty creepy ass like Furby pillow? What is that?
My wife has an obsession with cows, and
Oh,
Like,
now
see from there, but it's a cow. It's a cow
Aw.
pillow.
now it's cute. Now it's cute. What about it reminded me of a luck dragon. Oh, William's gone. Tony and Larry, what's up, boys? What did you guys think about Adam Ambrose tonight? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I thought that was a great show.
I'm lagging out a little bit right now. I'm gonna leave and come back.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I thought it was a great show. It kind of reminded me some of the experiences I had when I was younger. I had contacted you guys before and you asked me to come on the show, but I didn't get back with you.
Oh, dude, when was that? Because there was a time where we were having trouble with email, so that could have been it. So I apologize for that, but
It
I'm
was
glad
probably,
you're on now.
Yeah, me too. It was probably last week, I think.
Oh, that's not when we were having problems. That could totally be my fault. But,
Well, no, I didn't try to recontact you. I mean, I didn't call to contact you to see how to get on the show, but here I am now.
dude, what's your email now so I can write it down and we can have you on the show like for reals?
Okay, it's Alderman. I'll just spell it. ALDERMAN.
Let me take this shit off.
If you take your shirt off, I'm taking my damn shirt off, Tony.
No, I'm
Don't you
just
do
taking
it.
this one
Don't you-
off. What the
don't
fuck,
you-
dude? I've been wearing this shit all day.
I'm gonna take my shirt off. If you take your shirt off.
Let me show my body.
If you take your shirt off, I'm gonna take my
Watch,
shirt
I
off.
do it slow.
If I take my shirt off, Willie's gonna take his shirt off. What's gonna happen after that?
What's
Okay, you ready?
Okay, sorry. Alderman at.
It's Alderman Larry.
Oh,
What are you doing with your pen?
I'm writing, dude.
Ben's
Like
like,
cursive.
Ben's like,
at gmail.com.
It is written in the air.
how are you laughing? You got fucking animal pillows.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, one of those is correct. One of those is correct. I
Yeah,
can totally
Alderman
do it.
Larry.
I can totally do it.
You take it top
It's
or bottom?
Alderman,
Totally do it.
yeah, it's Alderman Larry E at gmail.com.
Oh my gosh, you didn't say the E, dude. What the hell?
You're all wrong.
There we go, boys.
You
There we
suck.
go, boys. Well, let's do it. So guys, thoughts on Adam was awesome, right? Like, did you guys have any? I got chills in a lot of places. Did anybody else?
He's got a lot of shit going on.
Yeah. Oh my God, Willie, are you like? Are you?
It's,
right now? God damn it!
I think Willie's taking some fucking E-tab.
You're taking over the control of.
I don't understand why. This is what happened last time. This is why I'm afraid to leave because remember where I accidentally.
I do.
Willie's
Yes,
on E.
like,
I'm
do you
sorry,
notice
he's
how
on
this?
E. Look at his face. He's on E.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is almost. We've got like 10 minutes, so
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's weird, right? Because I'm a guest. I shouldn't be able to do that. I shouldn't be able to share those banners.
yeah,
That's-
that's weird.
I don't know what that's about.
That's weird.
He's violating you.
All right, who's taking their pants off?
All right. Chris. No. I didn't mean to-
I love how Tony just fucking. All right, let's go.
I worked in a prison, dude. I have no shame.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I won't take my pants off. You guys might get embarrassed.
We already got the shirt off. We're already embarrassed.
Oh, man.
my god.
By the way, shout out to Tammy for having to work like extra hard tonight to keep us all in line. She did good.
Second that, Willie. Tammy, you crushed it tonight. Everyone, Tammy was making me about to piss my pants. I was laughing so hard. And also, Simon Wells and Mr. Callie. Holy shit, dude.
You know, I went to. That's me, Mr. Crowley now, right?
You're Mr. Okay.
Yeah,
that's right.
they made me go to Mr. Crowley. They would like bully me into it.
Did you sing the song?
Mr. Crowley, what they done in your head? No, we can go there.
Mr. Crowley.
Me, you, and karaoke, brother.
Oh shit. That's what's up.
Speaking of that,
I thought it
I'm
was
sorry,
an
go-
excellent show. I had a hard time hearing a little bit, but it was still a good show.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks, Larry. Well, I appreciate you hanging out tonight, man. And I've got to say, you've got a fantastic beard.
Oh, thanks.
You and Joe
I'm
could go
working on
toe to toe on beard styles.
Joe's
In
got
a
hair,
rapping-
though. I hate Joe's hair. I want to cut it off. Is that bad?
I mean, you could try. You gotta wait till he is asleep, though. Till he's sleeping.
like Samson in the Bible, right? You could be Delilah. You go in there and you sing him songs, braid his hair.
I want him at pigtails.
Dude, that's such a deep cut. I love it, dude.
I want him at pigtails.
Hey, I'll tell you, as a kid, Samson was such a fascinating story in the Bible. I always found that story to be quite thought-provoking. I don't know. Even if it is just, you know.
Tell me more
Samson
about
was a
Samson.
giant. If you guys didn't know, he was a giant.
Sam?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Samson? I thought Samson was the dude on Super Smash Bros. The Super Smash Bros.
Oh,
Everyone just gave you a blank stare.
I know. I realized that and I dropped something.
You got animal pillow back there. Can't unsee that.
Willie, what's the deal about what's the story on Samsonite? What are we saying? Samsung? Oh my god. This is
Oh
going
my God.
great. This is going great, guys.
It's going south.
We're doing so good.
Oh
And everything. I wasn't doing anything. It was just like, you've lost connection to your camera. You've lost connection to your mic. It was just like getting rid of everything. And I was like,
Yeah.
God, crap.
Well, you know you can't
Sorry,
leave.
I'm not downstairs
because-
in the studio.
If you do leave, it just shuts down the whole live stream. So you literally can't.
Oh,
leave
that
now.
I was so afraid earlier when it kicked me. I was like, oh God, no.
Yeah.
Willie,
Yeah.
Willie, what are you doing?
I'll tell you, brother. If these two hands interlock. Do you guys? You
guys
ever
ever
seen
talk
this
about-
skit?
all things or abductions or spirits, things like that, or what?
Oh, are we talking about sightings?
Well, yeah. Have you guys mainly talked about abductions? Do you
I'm
talk
sorry,
about
we're like-
spirits, ghosts?
We're like
or-
big children. We talk about everything.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
man.
cool.
Yeah, we're like big children now. So it's
Okay.
hard to keep. You got to keep our focus. Somebody has to be an adult.
Yeah. Usually it's Nibbler, my pug. But yeah,
here
man.
goes my cat.
Oh, what's up?
Hey, like, hey,
That's a dope
little
cat.
Yeah, stick your ass in my face. Anyway,
Nice.
Yeah, I was abducted when I was younger. I think I'm still having like experiences now in my life, but in my bedroom, these things used to come into my room. I think they were grays. A couple of times I thought I'd just seen a head that popped out of the floor, and I would get really super scared to where it seemed like I couldn't move and stuff, and I was trying to call out. And then I remember all of a sudden being in a ship where there were other children around me and stuff, and I was screaming and crying, just shaking, trying to figure out what was going on. And there were grays and stuff walking around, and then they kind of got a hold of me, and a big white person, I guess he was in white clothing and stuff, but they come up to me and told me everything was okay and stuff, and they took us into this one room one time, and I don't know if it was a projection or a window, but there were a lot of stars and stuff out there, and he was pointing something out and pointing out to something, and I can't seem to remember what he was talking about pointing things out. So I've always thought about getting like a regression hypnotist to try to figure out what was going on.
Dude. Okay.
I kind of have like something similar to that. Like I told you to listen to my episode, which you didn't, obviously, Ben. And but basically I had a guy came out of my closet, and he was a white, kind of like what you said. He reminded me of a slee stack that was white.
Yeah, he was tall.
But but he wasn't reptilian. He just kind of had those motions. And he would come out of my closet whenever I was a child, and he would talk to me, but he didn't talk. He didn't have a voice. He would just he would be like this.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing a voice either, but I remember
but whenever
pointing things out.
Well, he didn't point things out, but whenever he was there, I had no problems that night in my house. I had no issues whatsoever. I don't know if it was alien. I don't know if it was abduction. I don't know if it was anything. But I specifically remember this guy coming out of my closet. I was never afraid of him.
Yeah.
And he would always communicate with me without words. He would always use his hands. He would just talk. He would be like I said, just mouthing stuff like,
dude.
And it was like crazy.
That is trippy.
It was crazy.
Well, the first time it happened to me, I was like terrified. I didn't know what the heck was going on.
The same. And that was the whole thing with all the shit that was going on in my house. I was terrified the first time he walked out. But then I realized whenever he walked out, nothing bad happened to me the rest of the night.
Yeah, nothing bad ever happened to me either.
See?
Damn. So, wow, that's pretty awesome that you guys found something that connected to y'all's story. So, can I ask if y'all are in the same area of United States? Is maybe that's a correlation? Am I reaching there?
I lived in Montrose, Colorado.
No. I just.
Where are you at, Tony?
I don't want to say right now.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, sorry.
We just got our ass kicked by Minnesota. So we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, Pittsburgh. Anyway.
Texas. Got it.
Yeah.
To Florida. One of those. I don't know shit about football.
What is Willie doing back there?
He's petting his cow pillow.
He's creeping me out.
Oh my God! You're literally mouthing the words. Are you saying you're the alien that's been mouthing? So he can't leave because if he does, the whole live stream is going to end. So how about this, guys? Let's go ahead and we're about 10 minutes away from SOR starting. We want to be respectful for our favorite show. SOR coming up, Space Out Radio. If you haven't subscribed, check them out. And if you haven't subscribed to the UFO Garage podcast, this one, the YouTube channel, please subscribe. What I would love to do, guys, is have everyone back on soon, and we could talk about our experiences. We can chat. We can have fun. How about we just pop our tops off? I don't know. We just start the whole damn thing without shirts on. That would be cool.
Not with that guy.
I really didn't know that I was going to be on. I really didn't know that I was all of a sudden going to be on.
100% is on brand with UFO Garage. I love that, dude, so much. I love it so much. So yeah, next time though, I'm not gonna be wearing a shirt. So when we're all on, just be prepared. for that. My nipples are very small, so just to warn you guys. But anyway, thanks for joining me for the little after show a little bit, and shit. We'll see you guys next week. And hey, you know what we always say is our sign off is, hey, we had a good time.
It's not
thank
to
you.
sign off. We got to make the little noises. It'd be crazy.
You want to help me out? And this has been another episode of UFO Garage. Okay, bye. See y'all.
Peace.